Yo, 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 YouTube. Welcome back to another live with Charlie and our man Stuart. Our man goat, Stuart.
Man, go,
Uh,
bah!
Goat boy. I think we've gone over that one before. So welcome everyone to another live episode. We've got quite a bit to cover actually that we want to cover, and of course we'll go off into all kinds of tangents because that's the style
That's what we
here.
do.
That's what we do, and we're going to keep it consistent. We're not going to change. But anyway, a couple things we want to talk about tonight, and I'll just hit the high points here real quick. We want to talk a little bit about licensing. We want to talk a little bit about our experience at the Janesville Card Show that we were just at this past weekend. First time both of us. Actually, it's the first time both of us have gone to a show together.
Yeah,
as weird as that is. But it's also both of our first time at the Janesville show. And then we want to talk a little bit about just some sales experience and some things that we're doing with eBay now that's both helping or hindering our sales experience and some of the changes that eBay is going through as well. But first things first, I'm going to show off my my shirt for tonight. So we've got
okay.
the wild card shirt. You know why I got the wild card shirt on, Charlie?
Why do you got the wild card shirt on, Adam?
Because we are all going to have to get used to unlicensed football cards for a period of time.
True story.
So Panini, RIP. I'm not a big Panini fan. I didn't really care that much for their products. Some of the inserts are cool and stuff, but a lot of their sets were just kind of boring and bland, and they just changed it up. They just sort of to next year's set and then to the year set after that. Didn't really have enough variety, and wasn't not as big a fan of their final product, right? So I think in the long run, this isn't necessarily the worst thing, but we're kind of running from one monopoly to another monopoly. I don't know that that's the greatest thing in the universe either, but that is kind of the world. So let me give you a little bit of a side story here. So I was big into Star Wars and action figures and all that stuff. Now in that universe, and I even worked with Lucasfilm on a couple of projects. In that universe, that's how it's been forever. There is one company that makes action figures. There is one company that makes their trading cards. There's one company that does their posters, let's say.
Sure. Yeah.
And they've done that forever because they have zero interest, believe it or not, in the products that are made with their property on it. They just want to get their paycheck for it. So they go, we're going to deal with you. You make good posters. You've agreed to pay us $50 million. You write us a check, and then you go print the shit out of your posters and have a good time. We don't want nothing to do with it after that. That's why they don't want to license to a bunch of different companies. They just want whatever's going to be the big paycheck. And then, if royalty agreements are in there, whatever. I don't know what's in the contract. I would assume there's future money in it based on sales too. They just want to know, okay, great. These are your numbers. Great. This was your sales. Great. Send me my check. That's all the Players Association cares about. That's all the NFL cares about. Players Association might care a little bit about how the players are being treated, but outside of that, it all comes down to the paychecks. So I think you're going to see basically monopolies on stuff like that forever because it's just easier for them to deal with it that way. As long as some company's going to write the check, write a big enough check. So to try to sort of police the products between a Fleer and a Donruss and an Upper Deck and a Topps and a Panini and that's not what they do. They put out a professional sports product, and then this is just something that pays part of the bills essentially.
Right.
So that's kind of my take on that. I think this is going to take longer than people realize to resolve because it's going to get thrown into court, and there's the monopoly
4 years minimum.
I don't know that it's going to take that long. Well, first of all, it can't because the licensing changes over to Fanatics in 2025 anyway. So even if it might still be tied up in court, but they'll right, but they'll be able to make their products. So I think the bigger concern is there going to be any football products this year? Now, I guarantee you the NBA was watching this closely. Is their Players Association going to jump in on something and say, well, we don't have to do this either? And from my understanding, do you understand why they were able to get out of the contract? I don't know if you've looked into this at all.
No. Why did they?
So, from my understanding, what happened was Panini was required to report certain numbers and stuff, and their numbers were reported incorrectly, inaccurately. Let's put it
So,
that
like
way.
a breach of contract is what they're looking at?
Yeah. So what happens is, Fanatics is really good at hardball if you push them to hardball. They've obviously learned that already with buying out their printers and, bought out tops, like doing all these things to sort of basically push Panini away as soon as they possibly can. And I think when they were going to court over some stuff, they were like, hey, Panini doesn't have their numbers right. We can go to the NFL Players Association and say, hey, we can get in on this thing right away with you guys. If you whoa, what happened there?
I hit the wrong button. I was trying to adjust something.
If you shut down Panini right now, we could do something right away. And I think the Players Association was like, well, hell yeah, let's do that. And it must be solid enough, because I don't think they would come out and just say we're ending our contract if they didn't have a true out. Because they know obviously Panini would challenge us. Panini hasn't been I don't know how to say it, because what they're doing isn't necessarily wrong, but they haven't really like backed out of this easily. They're kind of trying to fight the power, and it's not really going to work.
Well, I mean, they have to try and fight, right? But I would agree. I
mean, they do. They can also go back to they have other products that they make. They make most of the sticker book products. I think they do some candy stuff. They're based out of Italy. They have a bunch of products in Europe that they do. They can still do soccer trading card. Like, there's a bunch of other stuff they can still make. If I were them, I would try to go after licenses for like entertainment cards or some non-sport stuff. There isn't really like Inkworks does some stuff. There's a couple of companies that pursue non-sport stuff, but that might be a nice market for them to get in, and that market has been growing too. So
sure,
maybe just kind of let the sports thing. They've been making baseball cards this whole time without a license. Maybe they just do that and do non-licensed products, NIL stuff, try to sign players. I don't know. But it's gonna be weird, because basically Panini can make products with team logos on it but no players, and Fanatics can make players stuff on it if they work that out with the Players Association, which I'm sure that won't be difficult. But they can't put any team logos on it. So I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do.
How long is that gonna last?
I don't think the league or the Players Association wants either of those situations. No. Again, they're kind of like in this middle spot right now, and they have no interest in that. They just want a company who's going to write them a big check, right?
I don't think the hobby wants that either.
No. I don't think this really. I don't think it helps the players. I don't think it helps the teams. I don't think it helps the hobby. I don't think it doesn't help Fanatics. Doesn't help Panini. Like, nobody's really winning in a lot of that situation. So I think I think basically the screws are totally put to Panini now, and they're gonna have to take a good hard look at, okay, do we just leave now and take a check, versus in 2 years this whole thing is out of our lap and we can't do anything anyway.
Right.
I kind of see that it's gonna end up that way. But how long that's going to take, or if judges have to get involved, I don't know. Then there's this whole thing with, well, if there is truly some findings of monopolization, then it has to go to like Congress and Senate hearings
SEC
and like junk
stuff,
like that. Yeah, like big stuff, not just a mediation board. And I am no legal expert by any stretch of any imagination. But I'm just, in my head kind of thinking about,
we were at a Holiday Inn Express the other day.
But we were at Holiday Inn Express. Did you hear I said that in the video too? I said, well, we might not find any cards here, but we should at least come out smarter, because we were in Holiday Inn Express. So anyway, I mean, I don't want to, this topic has been covered by 6,000 YouTubers because it was an easy one to jump on right away and make some content about. And I don't blame them. It's good content. It's probably the biggest thing that's happened,
Yeah.
in a period of time. But the main reason I wanted to bring it up, and I wanted to bring it up right away, is I honestly don't believe it's gonna like have a super negative effect on the hobby itself. I think for this short period of time, all those types of things are working out, but there's plenty of cards that already exist to trade, things like that. The brand new players coming in, yeah, that's going to be tougher. You want a CJ Stroud autograph card, you're going to have to find whatever company has the exclusive auto rights.
Right.
And it's probably going to be an unlicensed card that's going to be signed, or a college card or something like that. So, but I think, we get through that stretch and stuff, and then we can really look forward to like Topps Chrome products and the better stuff, in my opinion, coming back. Topps Chrome, it was by far the best product. Well, tell a lie. Fleer Metal was the best product ever. But as far as like a chromium refractor, prism silver typey product, Topps Chrome was by far the best. And then Finest was close in second, in my opinion. So to have both of those come back, maybe Pristine will come back. I really like that set. It's cool to think about the possibilities once this gets over this hump.
Yeah. My concern is just if we lose enough competition in the market. I do believe competition is good. I don't think Panini can sustain this with everything that's going on. So if we're left with just one big Fanatics, I do worry about what that's going to do to the market, essentially, as a buyer.
My one, and I agree, monopolization to any degree is usually not a good thing, because there's not a lot of motivation to put anything better out. There's no motivation to come up with better, cheaper ways to make stuff, to make products more
Yeah.
affordable, to battle competition. There's all those things. My one only argument to that, and because it's Fanatics has basically been a monopoly on sports, gear, if you will, like
Okay.
jerseys and things like that, for a good long period of time now, and they've done really, really good things with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they don't make the jerseys, so there's that argument of, well, now they're printing the cards and they're selling the cards and they're hosting the breakers of the cards and they're so that's fair point, very fair point. But I have a hard time believing they would come in and pay that kind of money to be in on this and then just basically shut it down and do all the things that are
Yeah.
negative towards it. You're on the bubble with some of this type of stuff. Nobody needs baseball cards. Like, it's not an essential. It's not like they're bought a toilet paper company, right? There's other companies that come out and make unlicensed stuff, and if people get mad enough at Fanatics and what they're doing, there will be alternatives.
Yeah.
So there will be some competition. It won't have the little G on there. It'll have, Green Bay instead of a G. I don't know. We'll see. And maybe this is a good chance for some of those other companies that have really been coming on strong, like Leaf and Wildcard and those, to find an even better place.
Right.
And be the alternative, be the $200 a box with 4 autos versus $900 a box with one generic, no name
Sure.
player auto, stuff like that. Yeah, I think it could be an interesting landscape for a few months. I don't think anybody wants to go the entire football season without products. I think
No.
I think everyone, no matter what side you're on, sees that as not a good thing for the hobby.
Yep.
So I think there's going to be a lot of motivation to really try to get something done. Now, Panini probably doesn't have to care, because they're going, well, we either don't make anything or we fight this thing out, so what do we care? But I think the leagues and obviously the Players Association has already spoken up and said, no, we don't want that at all.
All right.
we're pulling the plug on this and we're going to move on. So yeah, big nuts swinging around in the world of who gets to print football cards. I guess I don't know. It's the strangest topic to even have. Like, I remember. Do you remember when? And actually, I was just started watching this on Netflix. There's a show now on the doping scandal, or not? Well, there's one on the doping too, but like the baseball players all taking the clear stuff and all that. Remember that
Yeah,
in the '90s, McGuire and Sosa and all that.
I don't think I've seen that show though that you're
It's
referencing.
really good. It's a big story on Balco and like those guys who started all that
Okay,
stuff.
okay.
And I remember because I was, what, a sophomore in college, something like that, when that whole thing broke out.
Yeah.
And I remember they're going like, because it was a big deal. They called, Barry Bonds to, to speak in front of the Senate and Sammy
Yeah.
Sosa. And I'm like, the government gives a crap about this? This is so weird. Um, and that now as I've gotten older, I've kind of understood a little bit more like why they had to get involved. But it's interesting that something like sports cards, like who cares, right? But it might end up in front of some big government
It
agency,
could,
I
yeah.
don't know. It's gonna be super weird. Dom D has joined us. Welcome, Dom. Got started today. Got 100 listed. Thanks for the motivation. That's awesome.
Nice.
100's a great start. I I have a personal goal to do 150 to 250 a day. So 150 is basically my minimum. Once I hit that 250, if I feel like still going strong, I'll still go strong. Otherwise, that's my kind of my mark to say, okay, I can get some other stuff done today. So it's just a push. There are some listing programs you can go with. Card Dealer Pro is one. What's that other one? I always forget the name of it. But anyway, they're if you want something that can speed that process up, you can get a scanner and scan your cards in and stuff like that. Charlie and I are hand listers. We like the personal photos, and we think it looks better for the refractors and the shiny stuff, which is like 90% of the products these days. So we stick with that, and we're okay with pacing our listings a little bit to have photos that we like and
All right.
want to represent our products the best way. But anyway, yes, the starting with 100, that's awesome. And yeah, if you keep going, grab a handful every day and get them on, you'll be well on your way. How many are you up to now, Charlie?
I'm kind of in a weird season where I've got some other obligations outside of
Right.
my day job. So, listing volume is not something I can focus on until like late October now. So, I
Right.
mean, today I listed 25 here and there, off and on in between other things. On my lunch at work and on the occasional break or something,
Sure.
or at night when I go to sleep. Usually I as I lay down, I list a couple of things because again, we've talked about this before. What I like to do is queue up a bunch of cards on my phone, just take the pictures when I get a moment,
Yep.
and then wherever I am sitting idle someplace, I will list a couple cards. So I may even
Like in
be.
my car on the way to Janesville.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did half the way there and half the way back.
Yep.
Exactly. So yeah, I haven't. I don't know that I've hit 100 in a day yet. I was up. I think my best day has been like up in the 80s.
And sometimes it depends on what you're listing. If I have like
Yeah.
I got a stack of these Pro Set music cards. It's basic.
Yep.
They're all the same set. You just change the name. And these actually, there's multiple cards of the same band.
Yep.
So you literally just change the card number on each listing and hit list.
Yeah.
I can do those in a few seconds. So versus you got a stack of random whatever, some baseball, some football, some shiny, some you don't
Yeah.
know, you might have to look them up. That obviously extends a lot of your time, but I wouldn't put
Yeah.
too much pressure on yourself on getting a certain number of listings done at a time. If you grow and you start to become a viable business with it, then that's different. Your goals have to change a bit. If you're just doing it for fun, you're just getting started, you're getting your feet wet and trying to see if this is something you even want to keep pursuing, I think, 50, 60 here or there is perfect. That's going to give
Yeah.
you enough growth. And
I
as
think
you
the
get more sales, it's harder to list because you
yeah.
have to meet the obligations of the sales first. Those have to be the priority before the listing. You
Yeah.
can't list
And that
something for sale if you don't complete the previous sale.
that's where I think you need to set your goal for listing too. I
Right.
think at a minimum, you need to match your sales with your listings so you continue to maintain inventory. But
Hmm.
then you have to decide, okay, how much more growth am I looking for?
Right.
So I do see myself still in a growth period.
Oh yeah.
So would I like to be doing more right now? Yes. I mean, to your point, it helps doing like I have these Fright Flicks ones that I am working on next. Those will
Nice.
go pretty
I
quick.
love that set, by the way. It's a great
Yeah,
set.
yeah, that'll go pretty quick because, like you said, all I got to do is change the card name and number. Off the top of my head, I know that a nice clear Freddy is going to go higher than this werewolf conversation card, right?
Hmm.
So there's a couple maybe I'll boost up as a premium card because of the character. Ghostbusters Devil Dogs.
Nice.
Everybody knows them, so I might
Hmm.
add 50 cents on that one. Freddy, I might add $1 on it. The rest of them are going to be the same all the way across, so
Yeah, the
it
more
really
the more
gets
you
them
list,
sweet.
the more you just kind of understand what you want for a price.
Yes,
As you're
absolutely.
listing, it will say in the listing too, like other listings have sold for this or suggested price. You got to watch that a bit though, because that can be way off skewed
Yeah,
depending on what else has been listed similarly. But yeah, I don't spend when I'm selling $1.50, $2 cards. I don't spend a ton of time comping. You're wasting your effort there. Your efforts are better spent getting those listings out and selling. If you make a buck on a card and you sell 100 cards in a day, you made $100.
yep, yep,
Like, so get the listings out and get those sales, and then you can. Sometimes I've screwed up both ways on it. I've overcharged and I haven't gotten the thing sold, and I've had to drop the price, or I've listed it for too cheap. But then next time I pick up that card, well, I got to raise the price on this one. I could have got more.
yep.
Um, but in the same light, sometimes it's once in a while. It's really as long as I'm always priced to make a profit. Sometimes it's nice to have that quick flip too. You got a few
Yeah.
bucks to do something else with.
But you do have to be
So
careful sometimes when you're rapid fire listing because sometimes you'll come across a priceless card like this that has your wife on it, right?
that's
And then
right.
you don't
That's
want to be
right.
like, "Sorry, hon, I put you out for $1.50."
You should list that once and see how it does. See if you get offers for your wife. That's crazy. Honey, I got 5 offers for you today.
Right?
What do you think? Should I counter or is this good enough? I
Wait,
mean,
is this indecent proposal?
yeah, yeah. Are they going to pay the mortgage? Because then maybe that's
Right.
not a bad deal. Like pay for my kid's college. I don't know. Maybe we work something out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think getting started, it was kind of like my YouTube channel, right? So I wanted to start it. I should have started my YouTube channel earlier, which is what 99.9% of YouTubers will tell you. But I was like, well, I don't really know what videos to make. I don't have the right equipment, and to some degree, I still don't have that stuff. And I've made a whole bunch of videos. I'm not a great YouTuber by any imagination, but you got to make some videos. You got to make stuff, and you got to post it. Like if you don't have content, you're not doing anything. So
Right.
I just started making videos, and sometimes I have really good ideas, and I have enough time that I can make a good video. And I had a couple of really good ones this week that got good reviews and um, lots of new subscribers and stuff. So you'll run into streaks where, just like with listing on eBay, you'll list more than you were able to before, or you'll have more sales than you were before. You just kind of got to go with it. Make sure that you are pricing your stuff so you make a profit. As long
Yeah.
as you're not losing money, you're not wasting your time. Dad and Son's cards, you got great video. Oh, see, there you go. See, somebody does like my videos. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Um, I'm probably my harshest critic, right? I think that's the case for most people. You're hardest on yourself.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot because I want to be a similar type of seller. Yeah, and I've said this a million times before, so I'm not going to beat I hate that phrase, beat the dead horse. I said that in front of Luna once. Quick sidebar. Said that in front of Luna once when she was like 4 or 5. She's she's a little girl, so she's all into animals, right? And saving it. She is pretty much a vegetarian, except chicken because they're stupid and they don't have souls, and fish and whatever. But anyway, I said, "Well, you're just beating a dead horse," and she's like, "Dad, why would you beat a dead? Why would you even have a dead horse?" Like she was like, "Wow," because kids take that stuff so literally. But anyway, my what I was trying to say was my whole point in starting this channel was to show a different avenue of how you can make some money on the sports cards
Yeah.
and look at the low end side, the stuff that everybody's discarding. That's the stuff you want to pick up, especially at the prices you can get it for. You have less risk, less capital involved, more cards to sell, and yeah, so it's fun. It's a lot of work. It's a ton of grind. If you don't want to grind, you don't want to put the time in, you don't want to have to keep track of all these cards.
Yep.
It's really not the best way to go. Then you should just buy 5 or 6 high end cards and spend your time trying to find buyers, and hope the market doesn't fall out on them. That's the other challenge on the upper end.
Yeah.
What do you think about the eBay AI tool? What do you think,
Great
Charlie?
question. I love it, even
Yep,
though
same.
Adam will tell you nobody reads the descriptions, and I think he's probably right for 99% of buyers out there. But gosh darn it, it makes me feel better when I see a nicely written description on it. So it has taken that work totally out of my hands. The only drawback is it's not a press it and forget it. You still want to review it because it will grab some weird stuff from your item details at times. So I would say maybe once every 10 or 12 listings, I end up adjusting something on it. But so far, I really like it.
So I do too, and I use it for pretty much every listing. Right now, if I'm doing a sell similar, like a card that I sold that now I've restocked, I don't bother. I just relist it. It's already sold once. The
Sure.
way it was, it was good enough to list it again that way. But you're gonna laugh at me. You want to know my favorite reason why I like it?
Why?
Okay, so in order to list an item, you are required to put something in that description box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before, what I was doing is I would copy and paste copy my title, and I would just paste it in my description box.
Right.
Well, guess what's faster?
The AI.
I just go right to the description box, hit
Yeah.
AI, done. So
Yep.
for me, when I'm trying to list 200 cards at a time, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever it saves, gold mine. So that's the primary reason that I do it. The other reason I do it is it forces a discipline on me where I have to go in and make sure that my fields have mostly correct stuff.
Sure.
Because I want that AI to show up as, like you said, as accurate as possible. So
I have a little bit
it forces me to put a better quality listing together.
Yeah. Yeah. I find a little bit of gamification in it too. And by that, I mean, when I see the end result, there are certain cards, certain subject matters that it truly acts like an AI and goes out and grabs stuff from the web or other listings. Like, I would say the majority
Like
of the listings.
5-time All-Star or something like that, right?
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
it's not in my item details, but it's
Yep.
grabbing it from someplace and it's making the listing better.
Like every time you list a Derek Jeter card and it says the greatest Yankee of all time, because I mean AI knows that. I mean all the humans know that, so the AI has to know that too, right?
Well, they say AI's got a way to go before it's perfect.
Yeah, well, that's true. Derek Jeter doesn't though. I mean, Derek Jeter is perfect. So, I mean, anyway,
He's all right. He's all right.
He's all right. That's a whole other topic for another day. So, but yeah, I would say the AI tool is great. Charlie's correct. Make sure you have as many of those fields. Also, too, the other good reason to using the AI and that forcing the discipline on me to fill in my fields, the more fields you fill in, the more you get eyes in the searches. So it's got that little pie chart that fills up as you complete more fields.
Yep.
You want that pie chart to be as full as possible, or all the way full is even better, where you answer every single specific section.
Yeah.
Because that's how many viewers potentially that it's going to be exposed to on those types of searches. So it does a couple things for you. It writes a better description. It's faster, and then it forces you to complete your fields, and then your fields will help you get more views on that item.
Right.
So yes, we are fans. Is it perfect? No. Does it put in that stupid 4,000 condition code crap? Yes. Which eBay is working on, that's where you have to, they put that requirement in now where you have to choose if it's graded, not graded, and then if it's near mint, excellent, good, whatever. But it's got this weird little programming code in it that says 4,000 or 4001 or whatever.
Yeah, it's pulling the API code.
Yeah, and it'll throw it right in the description sometimes too. So I just kind of watch real quick after I hit the description. If I see that 4,000 number in there, I just delete it. That's the best you can do. And again, no one's going to read the description, so it really doesn't matter. So sorry, that's just reality. Let's see what else. How's sales been? You said sales. We talked a little bit off camera before the show here. You said that sales have been increasing.
They have. So I had. It's not organic increases though. So I had a couple days where just pulling up my sales real quick. I'm always trying to build that streak, right? I want to see at least some sales every day, and I get a good consistently. I'll get 2 weeks before I get a break in sales. So that's good, but I got a little more active in promotions yesterday. We've talked about promotions for a few shows now. You've promoted everything that you list now, I believe. I was still using it kind of sparingly. But last night I selected 200 listings. I took a whole page of 200 listings, my oldest listings. I promoted them all with the dynamic what is it called? Dynamic rate or dynamic
ad rate.
Yeah, dynamic ad rate. Mm-hmm. And my sales tripled today, the first day they were all out there.
Yeah. So does it work?
It certainly seems to. Now, let's see if I can maintain that.
It's like not having Derek Jeter on the field and then having Derek Jeter on the field, right?
Derek Jeter's a dime a dozen. There's so many guys in the minors that could have came up. He was just in the right place at the right time.
The Yankees were lucky to have him.
I'm just talking crap because it's fun. I actually respect Derek Jeter.
Of course. Yeah. It's all in good fun. I don't take any of that seriously. Plus I know you're wrong anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, and he's no Robin Yount either, so
anyway, my sales have been good too. I mean, Robin Yount's not even Rob Deere, but
what? That is just crazy, insane. Who are you, Captain Insano now? Talking crazy talk?
Anyway, 1982 Brewers did what? I don't remember. I can't remember how that ended up. Can't remember how that ended up though.
Yeah, didn't end up the way we wanted, but Cubs are due another 100 years.
Right. Yeah, another 100 years. That's all right. And the Brewers will still have no World Series wins.
Oh, they might not even be in Milwaukee anymore.
That might not be next year. Yeah.
Talking Nashville or something.
Too. Yeah. I just went to that concert that was at Miller Park. I still call it Miller Park. I don't even know what it's called anymore. I don't care.
AmFam Field.
It's basically Chicago Cubs North, so it really doesn't matter what the name of it is. But the park looked to be in pretty good shape to me, so I'm not quite sure what's so horrible about it that they have to tear the whole thing down. But
everything looks good compared to that dump Wrigley.
Oh, and that's the other thing. And Wrigley's not a dump, by the way, but it certainly is not as nice a ballpark as something that's been built 100
Right,
years later,
right.
and yet that park consistently passes inspection stuff. So I don't know. It's weird. But we'll see what happens. I don't. I think the team will end up staying there. I'm pretty sure the
Yeah, I
citizens will
agree.
pony up and they'll take the tax, and you just take it up. I'm not going to say that, but um, you just pay it and you move on. I mean, we've basically come to the conclusion here in Green Bay that we're going to pay something forever to work on that park. Because what choice do you have?
Yeah,
It's such a revenue generator. It's a icon of the city, a landmark, all that stuff. Like you can't. There's no way you can just let it go for a couple $100 per person a year or whatever. You got to pay it.
yeah.
So anyway, that was totally off the subject of the eBay AI tool or our sales numbers.
That's what we do.
Um, yep, that's what we do. My sales numbers have been pretty good. I'm consistently month after month up 20-30%. Right now I'm up 40.6% from the last 31 days. So consistently getting the growth, consistently growing my listings, which is one of the big difference makers. I'm at 30,809 right now, um, which seems like an insane number to get to. And it took me about 3 years to get to this point, but honestly, you just kind of keep going, keep listing, you keep selling, you keep buying at shows, you keep buying lots on eBay, whatever, however you do your sourcing and stuff, and um, list them when you can. And it gets harder as the number gets bigger because you get more sales. I'll have 200 cards that sell in a day. Well, that takes me half the day just to fill orders, and then I try to use the other half of the day to list, but I'm already down 200 listings because I've sold those items. So even if I list 200 cards, I'm at, assuming they're sold out. I'll have quantities of some stuff, so not every sale takes a listing out, but um, yeah, it's very interesting to see how the growth on one side almost kind of takes you down on another side. So it's shipping and listing and listing and shipping. That's 99% of the job. The
Yeah,
rest is some sourcing and some you know price research and some customer service stuff. There's that kind of stuff too, but most of it is the listing and shipping and listing. Those are top two priorities. Tom has joined the chat. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for jumping in here. We're only about a half hour in, so we've got about 6 hours to go. So good timing.
So Adam, here's a fun number for you on promoted sales. I just flipped over to my promoted listing sales,
Mhm.
and my promoted listing sales are up 918%.
Yeah, see that's for real right there. That's
Yeah,
so here's my theory on the promoted listing. Okay, so let's say you do 10%. A lot of people just cap at 10. If you're selling a card, let's say we'll take even numbers just to make this simple. Let's say you're selling a card at $2, right? So and it sells at the ad rate of 10%. So that costs you what, 20 cents, right? To sell it at that ad rate. Well, if you don't want to cut any more than $2 out, then charge 225 for that card. You see what I'm saying? You
yeah,
can price that um, in a way. It might make it a little bit more difficult to sell because now you raised your price, but you're also getting that many additional eyeballs, and maybe you can do it as a combined sale. A lot of times I'll take lower offers if the customer wants to buy more than one card.
right.
um, so you can give them the deal on that side. So yeah, you'd still pay your 20 cents for promoting that card, but you're not paying the 60 cents or the 30-cent transaction fee or whatever, because you can put it in with something else. So it's a stupid, silly numbers game that you have to play when you're looking at sometimes pennies, nickels on returns. Um, but you got to get sales. If you can list 60,000 cards and nobody's going to buy them, well, what good does it do you? So
Right.
um, The thing that I find the most interesting, and I've mentioned this to Charlie a few times, the promoted listings has helped me sell cards, definitely. But I also still have a lot of organic sales. Probably 50% of my sales are still organic. If you watch and I have transparency to this, if you watch my sales day videos and I put the little cutout there of the sale from eBay, it'll say on there if it was promoted or not. Or if it's repeat buyer or whatever. Usually it's my repeat buyers that are not buying it on a promoted listing. So you can still get those prices without the promoted ad rate. It's not like it automatically charges you that on every single sale. It still has to be, that customer still has to go through that promoted listing in order for you to have to pay that fee. So
Right.
it's not automatic that you're going to get hit for that every single time. Some of them are really cheap. Some of the non-sport ones that I list, it's like 4% is like the ad rate. So if you're looking at $2, at 4%, you're looking at 8 cents. So for 8 cents, you can get it in front of another 600,000 eyes or a million
Right.
eyes, or whatever that increases on that dynamic ad rate. Like, that's totally worth. It's going to cost me way more than 8 cents to try to promote that myself, plus my time
Absolutely.
and energy, or cross posting, or whatever else these other tools are that are out there. Um, you do it eBay. You go find a buyer for my card, and I'll pay you 8 cents. It's kind of like doing a commission, right? So let's say you have a bunch of cards you want to sell on your own that you can sell easily. Well, you don't necessarily have to promote those, because those are liquid. There's gonna be buyers. You price it lower, whatever, to promote it and get it out yourself. But then there might be cards where they would be a bigger challenge to sell, so you would give them to somebody who would do it on a commission basis, right? So it's kind of like using commission within eBay itself.
Right.
You're paying them to find a buyer for you versus you just listing it and hoping a buyer sees it. So I feel like there's value in the price. Is the price too high? That's not really a fair thing to ask, or to even ask, is that eBay's fault? Because it's actually being priced by your competitors. So the only people that can determine if that ad rate is fair is if all the sellers selling that card agree to the same maximum ad rate. If that makes sense. So what's going to happen is, if competition increases, and I actually believe a lot of the competition is decreasing. I think more people have gotten out of selling cards. With the market being down, it's not the quick flip. The economy's worse. It's a lot of grind. People jump in and then they discover it's not something they want to commit to, and they're out, whatever. But if competition increases, what you're going to find is someone's willing to pay 11%, someone's willing to pay 12%, someone's willing to pay 13%. And that's where that dynamic ad rate is going to continue to increase, because the whole point of the dynamic rate is to get you in front of whoever the top bidders are, or
Mm-hmm.
at least in that pool of, I shouldn't say bidders, top uh, sellers, promoting sellers pool. And if those top promoters are doing 25, 30, so don't ever list your cards and do a 50% ad rate or something, because you're killing it for everybody. You're not going to make any money, and you're making everybody else's ad rate terrible. So um, I think as long as that price is somewhat reasonable and you can price it in, I can easily add a quarter to a card. If I think a card should sell for $3, I'll list it at 350. If I think it should sell at $2, I'll list it at 250.
Yep.
You have to put that marketing price in there for your customer to buy it. And then, like I said, if they're going to buy multiples, then you can start looking at offers and giving them some of that savings. So I'm a big fan of passing any cost savings, expense savings on my side to my customers as much as I can. I mean, I have to keep my own, what I need out of it too. But if you're willing to buy more cards, I'm willing, and save me on some of those fees, I'm willing to let that price go down. So everybody wins then.
We had an interesting conversation too, as I was listing some promotions independently. Like I was doing one at a time. I don't remember where I was. I obviously was not sitting at my desk where I had my desktop computer. I was doing it on my phone, And I was actually looking at the recommended ad rate on each one, and it varied between, I think it was 9% was the lowest one it offered up, and 14.9 was the highest one. So it
Sure.
was interesting to see how each card changed, and we were trying to figure out a little bit about, okay, what makes this card a 14.9% ad rate versus this next card is a 9% ad rate.
Literally, all it comes down to is what everybody else that's selling it is willing to pay for the ad rate. That's it. It's that simple. Um, and it would be completely impossible to figure out unless you knew everybody who's selling the card, which
Right.
that wouldn't be worth your effort to even look into. The biggest problem I had in the whole thing and why I held off on doing promotions, first of all, I was getting good sales and I was growing at a rate I wanted to keep pace at. I was doing it as a part-time thing and all that stuff. Um, but my biggest problem in the whole thing is there's no transparency from eBay. eBay does not tell you why it's at that ad rate. They just say this is the current rate. You
Right.
just have to take their word for it. How do I know everybody else is charging 10%? Maybe they're charging 4 and eBay's like, let's see if we can get this guy to do 10. I don't know. But as long as I get the sale and that 10% is into my price, why do I care? I don't have to. So I don't want to race to the bottom. That was the strategy for a long time on eBay. I buck that trend. Most sellers have bucked that trend, especially now that you have to pay promotions and all these other things to get your sales. I price my cards at the top of the market for that card. And then that gives me a ton of wiggle room to do other things. I can pay for promotions, I can take offers, I can do combined um, item percent discounts. It allows you to do a lot more things than if you're priced at the bottom. That's it. You got nowhere to go, or you're taking losses on a lot of stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
not gonna. That's stupid. You don't want to do that. You want to waste your time and your money. Dad and Sons Cards asks, I find it hard to find lots that are worth buying on eBay because of the price and what you get. Any advice or sellers you recommend? I am actually really, really good at this. Charlie can kind of attest to that. Some of the lots I've gotten are pretty insane. It's a lot of
Frustratingly
time.
good.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of research. There's a lot of skills you kind of have to employ on how you're doing your search to make things stand out that other people maybe aren't searching for. Misspelled words, things like that. Try to catch new listings before somebody else sees them. Maybe something that's priced too low, you can quick hit buy it now or quick get an offer in. Um, there's lots of different strategies. I'm not going to recommend any sellers. First of all, I don't really follow any specifically that I buy lots from. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I don't want to like give away all my tricks and secrets either, because now you guys will be out there bidding against me on this stuff. And that is one of my honey holes that I need once in a while. I pick up most of my stuff at shows now, but there's lots of things I can't get at shows, so I have to buy lots. And I do share those buys on my channel quite often. So subscribe, like, put the bell thing on, all that stuff, and try to catch my videos too. And I will provide examples of things that I've bought, and I'll have the transparent little cutout from eBay on there, so you know that I'm telling the truth on the price. I think the most recent one I did was a vintage football lot I got. I got like 1,500 cards for $3.25, and there's like James Lofton rookies in there, and Steve Largent rookies, and 2 second-year Walter Paytons that were in pretty good shape. Like just some insane stuff that I got out of that. And some of it is just knowing how to look at the listing, and if there isn't a lot of good photos, but it looks like you're getting a huge quantity for a small price, you have to take a chance on some stuff. Not everything's just going to stand out in front of your face as, hey, buy this and you can triple your money when you resell it. You have to kind of take a little bit of chance on it and have some luck here or there. The way I look at something like that is, okay, that lot for $3.25, even if it was all junk in there, 70s cards, I can put those in my 10-cent boxes, and it'll only take me 30 cards to recover my money, and I'd have 1,470 cards left. I'm pretty sure I'm going to come out okay on a lot like that. So yeah, I don't know. I've bought lots from viewers before. I don't know what's in it. They just message me and they say, "Hey, I got some stuff that you usually like to sell. I watch your channel. I've got about 1,000 cards. Will you do $75? Whatever the deals we try to strike off of eBay, so we save on some fees, and that's worked out well for me. I've gotten some really good lots that way. So you can try Facebook Marketplace. You can try. I think Mercari does. There's lots on Mercari now. Some sellers are on there. You can try Whatnot. Try to win some live auctions on some lots that you can split. Um, and try to get a deal that way because it's on an auction versus a buy it price. So yeah, you just kind of have to find what works for you. I have my own. I've been doing this for a long time, and I have my stuff that I look for, and it's served me very well. I built basically my entire card business off of lots on eBay because I was doing that for a super long time before I went to card shows and was buying bulk at card shows and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a completely viable way to grow. So what do you think, Charlie?
So I think shopping card lots is very time consuming.
It is.
Um, and when you're not good at it, I think your time is better spent buying bulk at a card show. Now, there are some specific things that you're not going to find at a card show. A lot
Yep,
of
flying
non-sport.
pig cards.
Yeah, we talk about non-sport too. A lot of times that you're not going to see as much at a card show. But I feel like first thing you need is a good target of what you're looking for, because otherwise you're going to spend hours and hours just wandering around. But if you can get a good target and you know exactly what you want, and to your point, maybe some of the common misspellings you're going to see, you might find a good deal that way. But for me, it just hasn't panned out. Like I still try it once in a while. It's a skill I have to build, so I'll try it just to keep building upon it. But I've bought some lots and haven't been super successful with it. So I
Yeah.
stick more to the card shows.
Lots can be tricky too because you of course there's the price of the lot, then you're paying some sort of state sales tax in most cases to get it, and then you've got shipping, and then you don't know how they're going to ship it. So the
Yeah.
cards might end up trashed, or they might all be top loaded. Now you've got a
Yep.
lot of extra value because you've got top loads you can use. So there's just a lot of unknowns versus dipping through that box and you hand them cash and you walk away with the cards and
Right.
you know what the conditions are, which I didn't look too closely at a few of these cards this weekend. I had a couple of damaged cards that I bought cheap, 10 cents, 30 cents, whatever.
Yeah.
But um, as I was going through listing stuff today, I was like, oh man, I got to remember to look at some of this stuff closer. When it's 112 degrees in there, it's harder to do.
It
Um,
is.
but yeah, lots are a great way to buy and get in. If you don't have access to card shows, it's a way for you to get to source product. Charlie's exactly right. In at most of the shows in our area, we don't get a lot of non-sport available. I like the music cards, though I've done okay with those. So like here's some of the Yo MTV rap stuff. You're probably not going to find that at a local card show. Um, so yeah, you kind of got to find your target, what you're looking for, what you want to add to your store, and put in time. I enjoy searching eBay for stuff to buy. To me, that is fun downtime type stuff. Lay in the bed. I've got a phone that does this thing, so I get it opened up nice and big, so I can see pictures real easily. And I just when I feel like I have stuff I want to buy, or I've got money sitting in PayPal burning a hole, I'll look for some lots and do pretty well that way. So
And to that end, it depends on where your business is at right now too, because I use some of that same time. I prioritize listing over sourcing when I'm in those situations.
and I do now too, because I have way more to list than I need to source.
Yeah.
I have a lot of inventory. I still have a few thousand cards from the National, which is by far the best place to source ever. even non-sport. I found a ton of non-sport at the National, which I was shocked at. And then yeah, I try to get to a show once or twice a month, and I buy a few good stacks. I bought a small collection on Saturday from someone. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a million and one ways to do it. You just got to find out what works for you. And honestly, you can't always plan it. There's sometimes where I'm like, well, I need some more Brady inventory. I better go online and buy some lots. And then all of a sudden I get to a show and it's like I find 200, and I actually did a video on this too. I found a big box of just Brady stuff at an Appleton show, and I got them for a really good deal. And I bought the whole box. Well, don't really need to go on eBay and buy Brady lots now. So you kind of have to really be able to adjust to what's out there. You don't want to go too heavy in one area like I did. When I started, I was just selling I have a Favre PC, so I was just buying lots because I'm like, well, why pay $10 for one card when I could pay $10 and get like 50 cards, and take out the one card I want. Well, I ended up with thousands and thousands of these Favre cards I didn't need, and that's how I started selling and I was making money on it. I'm like, well, geez, this is like a real thing. Um, but I still have like 25 or 30,000 Favre cards that I'm selling through. They sell very well. Favre stuff does very well for me, but um, that's probably not the route you want to take if you're, I've got a lot of capital tied up in that I probably could have, not probably, that I 100% should have put into some other areas to get return on. Now, I did have a buyer today buy two different cards, but he bought 10 copies of one card and 12 copies of the other card. And they were both Favres. So by having large quantities, I'm able to fulfill some orders too that maybe another seller can't. And a lot of times it's just base cards and stuff. It's not super high-end inserts or anything like that. That you'll have buyers for. So people like to grade, so they'll buy more than one copy. Like 1991 Fleer Ultra Emmett Smiths I sold on Saturday. It's like the worst design football card design. It doesn't touch the 1991 Fleer baseball design, but who wants 5 copies of that? Well, guess what? They're pretty easy to grade. So my guess is somebody was it's a Emmett, Hall of Famer, holds, probably the record forever for rushing unless the game changes back to a running game. Not a bad buy at $2 a card, right? So let's see. Odd sales for me this week. Yasai Kikuchi PSA 10 doubled up on. I don't even have any clue if I said that right. And a Jared Goff PSA 9 base optic rated rookie I tripled up on. Cards I'd figured be last to sell, and it's funny sometimes. Yeah, I talk about that all the time. You can literally sell any card. You just have to price it right. So I'm not shocked at all that somebody's in the market for Kikuchi cards. I'm not shocked at all that somebody's interested in Goff stuff. I said a lot. I shouldn't say a lot because they were sold as individual cards, but I had somebody come in and buy a 12, 15 Matthew Stafford cards, but wanted them all in a Lions uniform. Like super random, right? Yeah, there's a buyer out there. So list what you got and put it at the right price, and you'll get a sale. And doesn't it feel so good when you sell a card where you're like, I had no business selling this card, and I did, and I tripled up on it. Those are like super victories. When you sell, like, you have you got the Ellie De La Cruz, blue auto, and everybody wants this card, and you sell it, and it goes at market. Yeah, you should be able to do that. It's when you sell the Jared Goff PSA 9 where you're like, I got something here,
Right.
Those are the true victories. All right, I also think I'm dealing with my first standard envelope scammer. Since it didn't update with scans, it didn't see their 90% feedback until after I already shipped. Lesson learned, and at least it was under $20. Par for the course. Losses are part of business. If you can't take on any losses, then your business is not functioning correctly. You can write those losses off at the end of the year against your income, things like that. So take it with a grain of salt. Charlie, speaking of this, I did have something happen to me today that you had experienced in the past and I never had. But I had a customer message me today, and he lives in Chicago or something, and it said his card was delivered in Florida.
Okay. Yeah.
So remember when you had that problem, like, I don't know, like
Yep.
4 or 5 orders in a row or something super weird that happened
Yeah.
to you. And so I messaged him back, and he's like, dude, I buy a lot of cards online. He's like, I know their system's all screwy. I'm sure it's fine, but I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
And so I messaged him back. I'm like, yeah, thanks. I'm sure they just misscanned it, or it scanned a tracking for a different envelope, whatever. Just sit tight. And then, of course, 2 days later, the card showed up, and
Right.
he's got it. But yeah, that's just the standard envelope is very, very, very good, very efficient. 99% of the time, things go just fine with scanning and deliveries. But yeah, you have this. The other thing that really annoys me is they'll pre-scan that it's delivered.
Yes.
So
When it
they'll
leaves the
scan
hub. Yeah.
yeah, they'll scan delivered, yet it hasn't even gotten to that house's carrier and gotten to a mailbox.
Right.
So those who aren't buying online very often message and they say, "Oh, they said it was delivered, and I checked my mailbox and it's not there." Yes, they misscanned it. It'll be there in 2 days. That one is super annoying because that could be totally avoided
Right.
pretty easily. Uh, but I don't know if they just run it through an automated scanner or how that works, and they just go, "Oh, it'll be delivered today, so we'll just scan it through delivered."
Yep.
And then for whatever reason, it doesn't get on the truck that day. Whatever, however that works out, logistics of that. But um, just again, an unfortunate side effect of trying to ship as cheap as possible with tracking. The tracking service is not perfect.
Yep.
And you know what? I've heard that happen with priority mail shipments. I've heard that happen with Ground Advantage. So even if you step up your shipping, there still could be misscanned stuff. And now, Charlie, I think you said that you've had much better luck with it in recent times.
Yeah. I haven't had an issue. I don't know. I'm probably a month in without an issue. And then the last couple of issues I had were just misscans where it showed up the next day or the 2 days later. And, that's become my standard first step or first action step, if you will, is if I get a message like that, I say, let's give it 2 days. 90% of the time it shows up. It's just a
Yep.
scanning issue with USPS. And it does.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been very efficient. I ship hundreds a day. Maybe once or twice a month, I get a message, and even at that, most of those times, those still get delivered okay in the end. So, but yeah, if it says it was delivered a week ago and the person doesn't have the card and it's a $3 card, I give them the $3. It's not worth your time and effort to do anything else with it. You probably have a customer for life because you took care of them. When something happened, maybe they'll come back and buy something else and make your money right back on it. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, if it's $150 card, you have a little bit of different investment in that you might want to pursue, but you shouldn't be sending that a 63-cent envelope anyway. Um, so yeah, it's the losses are not significant enough for it to be like, should we be doing something else? I mean, not even close. Dad and Son says people who try to save a few cents in shipping like that are just hurting themselves in the long run. Not sure exactly what he was referring to there, but um, I will take saving a few cents in shipping any day of the week when I'm shipping hundreds of packages a week. So you have to look at it in um, scale, right? So if I can get this envelope for a cent cheaper than I can somewhere else, and I'm going through 3,000 of them a week, yeah, that's $30 a week. So I don't know. Yeah. The standard envelope shipping is a godsend. It's literally made this business viable, in my opinion, because you don't have people who can just come back and say, "Oh, I never got it." There's tracking. It takes a lot of the customer service side away from you. Once the sale is completed and you scan it and mail it, your part, for the most part, is done. Um, and When I first started selling cards, that didn't exist. The standard envelope has not been around that long. As a matter of fact, going back into my first year of videos, I did a video on eBay standard envelope and how it works and what the requirements were and all that stuff. I was just putting a stamp on an envelope and praying that I didn't hear back from somebody that they didn't get it. That was it. That was the only way we could do it. If you're going to sell a $2 card, you're not going to pay $5 for shipping. I'm not.
Yep.
And you can't ask a customer to pay that because they won't buy it. So,
Right.
No, this was when this came out, I was like, this is actually something you can do now. You can legit run a business of $1.50 cards. So, love it or hate it, it's the thing that allows us to do it. So, have we discussed the NFLPA dropping Panini yet? I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe unlicensed cards are gonna explode. We'll see. We
did talk about that. Stewie had something to say.
That's kind of our opinion as well. Yeah, obviously that's the hot topic. We started with that, just kind of threw some 2 cents into it right away. So I know you missed that, Tom, but go back, watch the beginning of this video. You'll see our discussion with that. I don't want to go over it all again, but it's bombshell. And it's funny because we were just talking about unlicensed products and how we all have to get over that. And there's going to be all these player license things now and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I was right on target with that. This could affect a lot of things that happen this year in football products. Tom, speaking about lots, yeah, I got some good lots last year randomly, pretty much full sets of 2020 low-end football sets, but in card folio 9 pocket side loading pocket binder used in TCGs, 6 binders and 3K cards, 8 cents a piece. And that's just it. As long as you get some stuff you can resell. There's a lot of times where I'll buy a lot and most of the cards in it I don't want, but one card pays for the whole lot.
Right.
So then I look at it like, okay, well, this is like break even money for me with hardly any effort because I only have to sell the one card out of it. And then I have all those other cards I can just list and they can sit. I have zero capital investment in it. All I have to do is, pay for, in theory, a place to keep them until they sell. So that's a great strategy. 8 cents a card might be a little high if they're all just modern commons of lower end sets. I don't know that I would pay 8 cents a piece. I try to stay at like 4 or 5 cents a piece. Every year I buy, I'll clarify this a little bit. Each year I buy like a big base lot of Optic or Prism or one of the big brands, just so that I have a whole bunch of random players in a popular product available. And I try to stay to that 4 or 5 cents a card. And in those lots that I'm buying, I'm still getting like the Justin Herberts and the Patrick Mahomes and the Aaron Rodgers and, a few copies of each of those players as well, which of course I can sell for more than, the minimum. I can sell a Patrick Mahomes Prism card for like $5. So paying a nickel, you can make up 100 cards just selling one Patrick Mahomes card, base card. So you got to watch that. But it sounds like that worked out really well for you and you made some money on it. I'm not even sure exactly what the cards were other than they were low end football. He goes on and tells us more. That was not including binders in final values. Sometimes the supplies included or what will track me. I agree. Mm-hmm. But lots are fewer and far between compared to my sweet spot singles I know comps of. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there. You have to know what your stuff is. If you're not a hockey guy, maybe don't go out and try to buy lots of hockey. Try to find your sweet spot. I have certain cards that I keep buying regularly because I know I can flip them for another certain price. And that's probably not the same cards in fact, I'm sure it's not the same cards you're buying. So yeah, you have to know your lane. You should expand, get some more knowledge, take some chances on some other things. But if you're not taking advantage of the stuff that you've got pinned down, that's a huge opportunity you're missing out on. You got to take the sure things. Do you agree, Charlie?
I do agree. I think you got to find your sweet spot and leverage that, and then try to expand where you can. But you can't just dive into stuff you don't know heavily. or you're
Yeah.
going to end up taking a bath most of the time.
Yeah, especially on the stuff we do, because the margins are actually pretty good, but the dollar amounts are small.
Yeah.
So, if you're buying something and doubling on it, that's almost not, in most cases, that's not going to be enough by the time you're
Yeah.
paying expenses and fees and whatever else. You really need a 5x, 6x, something like that. So if you're paying 30 cents for a card, you better be able to get after fees. Well, I shouldn't say after fees. Yeah, if you're paying 30 cents for a card, you better at least get what, $1.80, $1.90 for that.
Yeah.
Because if you look at your total expenses plus that 30 cents for the cost of goods, you're looking at about $1.25 or so.
Yep.
Envelope, shipping, eBay fee, average promotional fee, whatever. You're gonna have $1.25, $1.30 in that card. That gives you your 50 cents for profit after all is said and done. So now you can get lucky and you might have 3 copies of that card and somebody buys all 3 copies and you're only paying the expenses essentially on one card. The other card's just a few pennies, going towards the final value fees, but everything else is covered. You come out way further ahead, and that's
Yeah.
great. And you need some of those sales. But you can't count on that, unless you're going to sell it in a 3-card lot or something like that. I know sellers that'll do that. They do low-end cards, but they do it in one of the sellers that I was watching, that has a YouTube channel, I was watching, and he does 2 cards. You are always buying 2 cards whenever he does a sale. And he does a 99. How does he sell it? It's 99 cents per card, but you're buying 2 cards, so it's $2, right? So every sale he gets is $2, and then you're getting 2 cards. And he's making the profit because these are like super, super commons. We're talking like some Topps offensive lineman card, right? From 1998 or something like that. And that's how he does it. And he says, I can move more inventory that way because I'm selling 2 cards at a time. And I don't know. You have to find, what works for you and what you want to be in on. That's a very unique seller, and maybe he does really well because he's the only one doing it that way. To me, that seems more difficult. I don't really want to sell a bunch of no-name cards. That's pretty tough. Unless I just throw them in my 10-cent boxes or quarter boxes. And if you're doing 2 cards at a time, what cards do you pair? Do you do 2 cards of the same player? I don't know. But seems to work for him. So everybody's a little bit different that way. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Tom. You got to hit the stuff that you know. I know the binders are $19.99 at Walmart because I bought a bunch previously. So if I added the binders at cost, it would be like 0.0001 cent per card. Well, that's true. I see where you're going. I
Are
don't
you
know
going
that
to
you
sell
get.
those binders, or are you going to use them?
Yeah, and I don't know that you get $20 for a used binder. I think you could probably sell like a lot of 5 or 10 binders for maybe 20, $25. Plus the person would have, the shipping would be higher. So you'd have to get somebody to pay the shipping. But if you've got somebody that's going to give you $20 per binder, then yeah, you made a killing for sure. Yeah, not sure about the $1 commons and having to buy 2. Seems like it'd be a tough sell unless had the buyer base already. I don't know. Yeah, I was really surprised. The reason I watched the video, I couldn't even tell you who the YouTuber was. It was something I had on in the background, and the video was actually more about this listing program um, that he was using, and I mean, I was watching how he was listing. I'm like, why is there 2 cards on each one of these lines? And then yeah, he talked about, yeah, I pair this card with this card, and I don't know. But think about it though. Let's say your PC was, I don't know, some super common offensive lineman for the Browns, right? And you're just trying to get cards for your collection. You might be like, well, that I can get a card for $1 a piece from that guy. of a player that I want. Maybe he has the Topps card and a Fleer card, and you're like, great, I can get them both, and um, $2 out the door, shipped. To get a card for 99 cents shipped now is not. You're not going to find that because the expenses are too high. So that was a way for that collector to get it still at $1 a card, and get a couple at one time. So I don't know. I won't be doing that. I won't be listing all my cards in doubles.
It's an interesting model, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was just somebody who's, no, he gets the cards super cheap. He probably gets like 5,000 cards for like $20, right? Because it's early 90s, like I said, linemen, no namers. So he's probably like, dude, if I get a few sales out of these, I mean, it's money, So, if you want to play the low end, I mean, we talk about low end selling all the time, but I'm still selling Barry Sanders and Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and hopefully this crappy Wander Franco card. And Derek Jeter, because he's the greatest Yankee ever. And Nick Bosa.
Here we go. Here we go with the Derek Jeter again.
Well, I mean, facts are facts, But so it's lower end cards of those players, but they're certainly not no name players, right? I mean, I think you're kind of the same way, right, Charlie, with what you're selling for the most part.
Yeah,
that and weird stuff. I like the weird stuff. I like the frisbee catching dogs
or like crappy players like this.
Who's that?
Ryan Sandberg.
Sandberg? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Is that real?
No, it's a relic patch.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, that's crazy. You got a Sandberg auto? That's pretty sweet.
No, just the old, relics.
Gotcha. Yeah, actually, that's going to be my video I release tomorrow. Today I decided to do a sales day video. I had some cool stuff that sold today. Did you see I sold 10 of those Jake the Snake rookies?
I didn't notice it was 10. I did 10. I did see you sold one.
10.
Yeah.
I bought 12 at that one show, and I paid like 70 cents a card, something like that.
Yeah.
After discount, and I had a guy offer me $2 a piece on 10 of them. So I'm
really?
like, that's good. Yeah. And I literally only bought them because it's one of my favorite cards ever. I certainly didn't expect to make any money on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, to flip that quantity at one time. And it was funny because he messaged me shortly after that, and he's like, dude, I can't believe you had 10 of these. He's like, I bought a couple of these from you in the past. And so I messaged him back and I said, this is literally one of my favorite cards that's ever been made. So I have a deal with myself, as long as the price isn't stupid. I will literally buy every copy that I find. And to top it all off, I made that sale. I had one copy left that I have priced at $4.99. Guess what sold like a half hour later?
What?
The last copy sold to somebody else, because you get in that algorithm of sales, right? And eBay pushes you.
Didn't you just pick some up recently too?
That was at the Appleton show. I picked up a dozen of them.
Okay.
The guy just had a row of them in a box, and I told the guy, that was my 10-cent guy that I bought in when he had the really good stuff in Green Bay. We bought him out pretty good, so we just had kind of the leftovers. But so I told him, I said, I'm buying all these, So I said, you better give me a good deal, because I'm taking all these Jake the Snakes off your hands. So
yeah.
But I don't even know how I got on that subject. But yeah, I don't think any of us are going to be doing the buy two sale. I think that's kind of a unique strategy, and hey, if it works for him, great. He might have something, because nobody else is going to be doing it. Let's see. Oh, if it included shipping and wasn't on eBay, I could see that working. Yes, it did. It did include shipping. But he sells on eBay, so he was doing 2 cards, $2. So actually it was $1.98, because he was doing 99 cents per card. It's kind of like his shtick, which back in the day you could do. You cannot do that now. Let's see, but I also haven't listed any random comments to sell yet, and surprised by what has sold, so I'm becoming less surprised each day getting that seller seasoning. Yeah, you can literally sell any card if you price it right. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million times more.
I sold
I get interest
everything
in
I sold
common.
today was commons actually.
Yeah.
And 3 of them were like from a 2019 Topps Heritage set that was World Series highlights, and I sold 3 of those highlight cards for the Red Sox.
It's funny because I'd heard in the past where people were like, "Oh, team cards never sell," and blah blah blah, and that is completely not true at all.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to vintage, cards of like Terry Bradshaw handing off the ball to Franco Harris or something. That stuff's gold. I mean, I saw a ton of them. This is these are some of my favorite cards. So in like 78 through 81, Fleer made this little set. They didn't do cards of individual players, but they're called team action cards. You know what I'm talking about, Charlie?
I
Or
have
anybody
heard
in
of
the chat for
them.
that matter?
I haven't had any myself, no.
Okay. You can buy these super cheap, and I buy them all the time because look at this.
Yeah.
This is from the Super Bowl. It's a shot from the Super Bowl. It's the Rams and the Steelers. Yeah. Um, and it just has Fleer team action on there, and it's like card 75 of 80 or whatever it says there on the bottom. 75 of 70? That can't
79.
be right.
Oh, 70 of 70, isn't it?
70 of 70. Okay.
Yeah.
And they do awesome. I can get them for less than a couple pennies, a few pennies a piece is all I pay for them. And um, yeah, I can get $3-4 on a lot of those. So it's just pretty cool because Topps, one of the things that Topps did not do well back in the vintage days was they did not do like shots of things happening in the game. It's always like a guy on the bench, you know, some guy, with his helmet off, with the smoke coming out of his mouth because it's cold.
Yeah.
Like that was all the
Glenn
thing is,
Dawson smoking a cigarette on the sideline.
yeah, a guy on the, the quarterback on the phone, right? The running back with the towel, whatever. Um, Cameras weren't really up to par at that point to do a lot of like, guy stiff arming somebody or whatever, the shots wouldn't come out. So, Fleer was like, hey, let's do an action shot set. Well, that's great. I mean, you have photography of those classic Super Bowl games, that are not in any of the other card sets. I can see why collectors want that stuff. So, yeah, you got to look for the weird. Here, I gave away one of my other honey holes. Are you guys happy?
Look for the weird.
um, I get interesting common college player cards more so because of the school than the player, I suspect at times.
Yeah.
Not that I've listed tons, but still it was a surprise. Yeah, absolutely. There are college collectors big time. So certain schools, like you got your Ohio State, your Notre Dame, your Michigan, your Florida, your, those Wisconsin, we have
Yeah.
Wisconsin collectors here. So yeah, it's certainly a great strategy. Um, I just sold two is it Aiden O'Connell? Is he the new starting quarterback for the Raiders they just announced? I think his name is Aiden something. I think it's O'Connell. But I had a few of the Bowman Chrome, first year Bowman Chrome cards or whatever of him from Bowman University. Boom, they were both gone as soon as he got announced as starting quarterbacks. It's like, okay, he's hasn't even been released in a regular set yet. So those are great products to have to buy or to hold because it's just so limited. Well, hell, this year, who knows if they'll even have a card, a fully licensed
Right.
card. So yeah, I think college cards are definitely underrated. And the thought for quite a long time was, oh, once their pro uniform cards come out, nobody wants the player in a college uniform. I haven't found that to be true at all. I sold tons of Brady in a Michigan uniform. I sold a
Yeah.
bunch of Charles Woodson in a Michigan uniform. I sold a Garrett Wilson in a Ohio State uniform. Like, I don't know that that's true at all. Will it be like their iconic, ideal rookie card that goes for $15 million in the future when they make the Hall of Fame? Probably not. But that's not what I sell. That's not what I'm not buying this card and holding it for 20 years and hoping it's the iconic card for that player. buying it for $1 and selling it for $5. You know, that's all that needs to happen for me. So
You bring up an
um,
interesting point
keep
too that I
perspective.
think is a challenge for new low end card sellers. All the buzz and all the tension is around, the first Bowmans and the rookie cards and all that stuff that we see at, these big auctions going for big money. And I think that's probably our first interaction with the hobby as a retail option, right?
Yep.
But when you go into low end selling, I think it can be a challenge to stop always thinking about those cards and thinking about the value in the low end cards. I find it can be really distracting sometimes when I'm going through low end cards and I find myself spending extra time that I shouldn't be thinking about, well, is this a card that could have a huge future or something, right? But it's highly unlikely. If I'm getting stuff out of a value box, that big find really isn't going to be there, right? Like a big find for a low end card seller like us is, hey, I found something I can flip for $15, right?
Right.
Not
Yeah, absolutely.
15,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have to stay realistic in what you're doing. And if you find a $15,000 card in a dollar box, power to you. That's great. Somebody obviously made a mistake in there somewhere, but
Yeah,
um yeah, that's just not the reality of where we live. No, you could just be buying a box of random rookies and then all of a sudden this rookie takes off, and now you got some bigger value in it. But even in that case, you probably don't have like their super high end chasey card because you're
right,
not going to have the refractor out of 5 autoed that you got
right.
out of a 10-cent box. Um, that's pretty impossible. I don't know that you're going to find a dealer that would stick that in a box. Um, and again, to your point, Charlie, that's exactly why I made my channel because every channel out there, all the activity when the market was super hot was buy this base card for $20 and grade it and it sells for 800. And I'm like, they printed like 5 million of those. They're not worth $800.
Right.
They're all going to be PSA 10s. Like this is such a terrible thing to try to sustain. Yeah, when the market's hot, you can it doesn't take any dope to sell something for a profit when things are jumping like that. But
Right.
um, those YouTubers most of them aren't around anymore, and there's a reason for that. It's not, the game wasn't long term sustainable. Um, but yeah, so one time I was talking to a high end dealer friend of mine, and he said, "Why do you bother with those low end cards? I'll make $1,000 on a card. You make $2 on a card, and you're doing all that work for $2, and I only have to sell one card to make $1,000." And he said, "We're spending the same amount of money working. It's just how we're doing that work, right? So if you want to sell a card for $1,000 profit, you have to find a buyer for that. You have to convince somebody to buy that card. You're paying more fees to do it if you're selling it online. If you're doing it at a show, you're spending time talking to people, trying to get somebody to buy the card, looking at the condition. You got to get the grading to come out right, which is a crapshoot. There's like all these things that you got to put into it to sell that card. Whereas a card I buy for 20 cents that I'm selling for $2, I literally just list it. And
Yep.
buyer buys it and that's it. They don't care if there's maybe a little bit of imperfection on a corner or what. For the most part, it's not an investable card, it's a collectible card. So the customer is different. Okay. So
Right.
he's got to try to find the investment customer. I sold investments. I was a stockbroker for a while. You got to convince people to buy this crap and that it's going to have some kind of future value. They're only buying it because they want a return. Whereas when I'm buying a low end soccer auto of a player, I don't even know who he is. My customer is going to be the collector, the person who wants that actual card. And are they concerned with the value? I'm sure. We're all have concerns of value, and we want to make sure our collections hold. But to to the same degree as the $1,500 card? No. When somebody's spending $2, they're not looking that far
Right.
into it. We're more onto the hobby side of things than the investor side.
I got to step away for a second. I'll be right back. Talk
Yep,
amongst
no problem.
yourselves.
Give us a topic.
The peanut is neither a pea nor a nut. Discuss.
Ooh, it's a legume. Science. I know science too. In basketball, the Fleer in action are likely only 1 of 3 and 1 of 5 of only playing day cards of some of the big vintage rookies like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. So that's awesome. I did not know that. So that almost kind of parallel with the football action cards, which makes a lot of sense. That's something I might keep an eye out for. I don't know what the prices are on those, but love cards like that. The Fleer in action cards have been super, super for me. I have like action cards of Super Bowl I, where Bart Starr sneaking the ball and stuff like that. Like, dude, that's quality collectible material. How many photos are out there, licensed products are out there that have those snaps from a game like that was so important. Certainly none of the top sets have any of that. So yeah, why wouldn't that be a good buy, especially at the cheap price? Good
Yep.
evening, gentlemen. Here late, Madison show this weekend. MD Sports Cards is joining us. Yes, we are not. I'm not attending the Madison show. We just drove 2.5 hours to Janesville this past weekend, so I'm out for a weekend or two. Actually, I think definitely the next show for me will be the KI Convention Center in Green Bay on the 16th of September. I'll be set up there. I know Charlie's setting up there too. Do you have any shows you're going to attend before then, Charlie?
Nothing planned right now. I'm going the opposite direction from Madison this weekend. I'm heading up north to get off the grid for a little bit.
Nice.
Have an early wedding anniversary dinner with some family that we're going to go to, and so I think the KI is probably going to be my next formal show as well. And as you said, we'll be setting up to sell some cards there versus really going as a buyer.
And we'll probably be buying more than we'll be selling, because that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
But that's
Best
okay too.
plans, right?
That's okay too. If I can sell some things that I can't sell online, and I can use that money to get some things that I can sell, that's still a great turn. So I got to take a quick break too. I'll be back in just a minute.
All right. So the Janesville show is what? That's not very far from the Madison show. So we had Janesville last weekend and then Madison show this weekend. Kind of get that area saturated from the sounds of it, because both of those shows I think are on a regular rotation, if I'm not mistaken. We'll talk a little bit more about the Janesville show, and we can probably jump into that right now while Adam's away, and he can fill in when he gets back. But it was a decent sized show. It was at a Holiday Inn Convention Center, Holiday Inn Express. So as we said, if you were with us at the beginning of the show tonight, we have nothing else, we should leave a little bit smarter, right? So it was, gosh, I don't recall how many tables were there. But there was probably 6 rows in the center, surrounded by the outlying tables in the main convention center room, and then there was a little bit outside in the lobby hallway area. I thought it was a decent show. We did not find a lot of non-sport, which is not uncommon. There were plenty of options for low-end sellers there. I know one dealer, I believe he was from the Rockford area, but he had at least 2 tables set up with, I think all of his cards were $2 or less, and he had 10-cent boxes, quarter boxes, 50-cent boxes. So we actually spent a lot of time there. There were 3 of us that went. Adam and I were joined by Ethan as well. Ethan's a fan of the show as well.
Did you miss me?
Yeah. But so when we entered in, we kind of split up. I went one direction. Adam and Ethan went another way. I usually, when I go to a show, I like to start by going around, get the lay of the land, and kind of scouting some things out. Because I always feel like I don't want to stop at the first one I see and then spend an hour there and, then miss out on other stuff that was further down. I never even got there to look at it. So I usually like to make a quick path around, kind of get a plan for it. But this time, by the time I did that, Adam and Ethan were already set up at this table's low end boxes, and then I kind of settled in there. But Adam beat me to it, and most of those boxes were kind of picked through before I even got there. Although he did leave me some not non-sport, some of the non-standard sports, not the big four. So some WWE, UFC, and then I also found some random non-sport stuff in those boxes as well. So overall, I thought it was worth a trip down there. I think the volume was good. If you're in that area, I would definitely recommend it. What'd you think, Adam?
Yeah, it was my very first time ever going to that show. I'm going to try to add, one or two different shows in. We talked about Oakfield, right? Or
Oak Creek. Yeah.
Oak Creek. God, I always get that wrong. I don't know why. That's a USPS hub, by the way, for our state. So kind of interesting. Anyway, try to add in, some one of distance, here or there, just to try to take a hit at some new material, different dealers, things like that. I had a pretty good experience there. I mean, the temperature was rough at times. It got
A little
pretty
warm,
toasty
yeah.
in there. But I was pretty used to that from the National. So unfortunately, card shows we go to, there's no air conditioning sometimes. But that, okay, I'm a little bit different than Charlie in my approach to a show. I go and kind of see if I see a dealer that it feels like is appropriate for what I try to do, grab a handful or two out of one of the boxes, and if I start tossing cards out, yep, I'd pay a dime for that, I'd pay a dime for that, I'd pay a dime for that, and I start getting a pile, that's worth my time, because if they have some quantity, if they have little tiny box this big with 10-cent cards in it, well, I'll either buy the whole darn thing or I'll move on. But
yeah,
when they have 10, 15, monster boxes, and I'm in the first 2 inches of it, and I've already got pulled 10 cards out, why go look for another dealer when I've got one right in front of me? Especially, we were there not at the opening time, so I wanted to make sure that I was at a dealer where it hadn't been totally picked over yet. We did real well at that dealer. I bought, if you saw my pickups video, I got a nice stack of top-loaded cards. So this was my final deal, Charlie. Did you know what deal I got there?
No.
Okay, so I got 103 top-loaded cards. Okay, so it should have been $1 a piece, right, according to his discount chart. And then I got another. I guess I didn't really count them, so I'm guessing, but I'd say probably another 120 non-top-loaded cards. So like 10-cent, 5-cent cards.
Yeah.
He threw those in for nothing. So, I mean, I got at least, $30 maybe, $20-$30 out of that. And then he charged me $85 total, as you remember.
Yep.
And I got 103 top-loaded cards for that. So I basically paid, what is that, like 80 cents, somewhere around there. Those per card, plus got all the top loads. And those cards started out at $2 a piece. So I feel like that was a pretty darn good deal. And I got some really nice stuff out of it. I got that Stafford numbered out of 25.
Yeah.
I got that Lewandowski Mosaic soccer card numbered out of 99. His stuff's pretty hot. I already listed that this morning. I already got 2 offers on it. So
yep.
That one's going to do real well. So I found some real nice stuff out of there. I know you were showing me, you found that LaDainian Tomlinson and Michael Vick, those die cut rookies out of Press Pass, I think it was.
Yeah.
Not the best brand, but at $1 or whatever you ended up paying per card, it's a no-brainer.
Yep.
So
yeah, I ended up less than.
You were at his table a long time. I hit like 10 tables after that, and you were still over there.
Yeah, because like I said, I hit the one couple of sets that you did not hit the box heavy on.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, now I gotta see if I can make up for what I missed out on the football and baseball and basketball.
Yeah, well, I gave you part of a football box too.
Yeah, I did
So
find some. I mean, our buying is a little different yet because I'm still building inventory.
yeah,
Like just a wide, diverse inventory. So I think I buy more, closer to some commons than you do, just because there are certain options I want for a lot of teams, even if it's not the parallel or refractor or something like that, right?
yep, absolutely. Yeah, and that's one nice thing about the longer you do this too, and you get sales, you'll realize things that sell that maybe you didn't think sold.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to buy more inventory that you can sell quicker because you know it's stuff that sells versus you're starting out, you're like, well, I'll try it, I'll try,
Yep.
I don't normally buy Steve Young, but I'll try this insert, and then boom, you sell it right away. Well, geez, turns out Steve. I did that with Rodman, not even that long ago, just a few months ago. I'm like, I'm going to buy some Rodmans. Got them really cheap, and I thought I'll just try it out. And I saw a ton of Dennis Rodman. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you believe it's a player that has some hobby that somebody else will want to collect, had a long enough career, is a Hall of Famer, plays in a key position, has an after sport life. I consider that a lot, like Shaq, Charles
Yeah.
Barkley,
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman with his like quirkiness and uniqueness.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because I remember how weird I thought Dennis Rodman was, and like he's like totally tame and normal now, like in society.
Yeah. Well, and his
Everybody
daughter
has.
just played on the U.S. women's national team too.
Did she really? Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
They weren't very
But
good though.
but you're right. Well, she's only like 18 or 17, something like that.
Sure.
But you're right. Like you have to start to learn kind of what the market is for different players too. So to your point, Shaq I'll buy all day. If I have 20, 30 Shaqs in my inventory, I'm okay with that. On the other side, where our buying is different is I may buy a Jamal Lewis from the Ravens because I know that he's a popular Raven to the diehard fans of the Ravens, but I'm
Yep.
only going to buy one or two, and until those sell, I'm not going to buy another one, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm big on the player side. I focus on that more than anything else. I don't
Mm-hmm.
and team does matter. So it's like, okay, well, this guy played for the Cowboys. Okay, well, they've got so many, it will influence me to carry that player, but it's still going to be based on the player.
Yeah.
Because 99% of collectors, if like thorough collectors, they're collecting a player
Yeah.
or multiple players. If you go up to anybody at a show and you're like, who do you PC? They'll be like, well, I PC Jared Goff or I PC. They're going to give you a player most of the
Yeah.
time. You might get somebody who's like, well, I just PC Packers. Well, okay, that makes sense. It's big fan base, but so how many Leroy Butlers are you going to stock? Because
Yeah.
um, versus, okay, well, there's probably going to be a lot of people collecting Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
for example, out of the Packers.
The funny thing is,
Um,
I went to this show and I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna get a whole lot today because I still have lots of inventory, but I filled this, and these are all top loaders that I haven't even taken out of this bag yet. This is how I took it out of the show, and they're still
yep.
sitting on my desk. So I got a lot of listing to do to go through some of this.
Yeah, it was funny because when I first started this, I had somebody ask me, I think it was a coworker, somebody who doesn't understand this stuff at all, asked me, well, what happens if you run out of stuff to list? And I just started laughing, and I'm like, yeah, that's not a thing. That's one of the beautiful parts about the business that we run is you can always get inventory. That part you don't have to worry about. Maybe where to find it or where the good stuff is, that's something that you have to work at a little bit, but you'll be able to find stuff. I think the bigger challenge is the competition in the selling, and you have to find buyers.
Right.
And that's why I finally said, yep, I have to pay eBay to commission these cards for me so I can get more sales.
Well, the other category that you did not pick there was NASCAR, so I ended up getting some NASCAR, some F1, stuff like that. So that dealer had a pretty large variety of different sports to choose from. I mean, the only thing we were missing was a lot of non-sport.
So I did actually pick up, because I picked up some hockey from him too.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I got some Gretzky stuff, which I tend to stick to the bigger. I got some Connor McDavid. I'm trying to see what's. But I got a Danica Patrick card, and I got a Jeff Gordon card, maybe. I'm trying to see if I can.
Okay.
They're right in front of me. I was trying to dig them out. But yeah, I bought at the National. I bought my first F1 card, a Max Verstappen.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pick up a little bit of that. I have a little bit of like older NASCAR, like Dale Earnhardt type stuff. Because obviously everyone knows who he is. So I felt pretty confident in buying some of those. But you don't have to be into everything either. There's a lot of cards,
This
So
is one of my favorites I found for the day. The Kobe flag card.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, those are great. I wish I would have found those. That's a good buy.
Yeah, I found it was a partial set. There was 3 or 4 from a set there on Kobe.
Yeah, and you bought them all, I hope, right?
I did, absolutely.
Attaboy. So I got this Icons Blue Wave Jeff Gordon.
Yep.
And then I got this Danica Patrick Black, which is one of the most exclusive card releases each year, black sets. I'm familiar with that from football, of course, but Danica Patrick, big name. She dated that weird football guy we had here for a while. And then this one from Gold Standard, again, another higher.
Oh, Richard Petty, brand, nice.
But Richard Petty. It's not numbered. None of these cards are numbered or anything, but I got them out of the 10-cent bin, his 10-cent boxes. So I was like, that was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I loaded up on a bunch of Haley Deegan's that he had.
Yeah, I've heard that name. I hear she's pretty hot in the sport right now.
WWE stuff I got a lot of refractors out of there that I didn't have yet. I've got a lot of kind of base stuff for WWE, but I didn't have a lot of refractors, so I loaded up on some of that. Yeah, all in all, I was pretty happy with it. Just the sheer volume that he had there, I thought was really good.
My one well, other than the heat, my one negative comment about that show is that I did feel like prices were a tad high compared to other shows I've been to, even the National, for the stuff we buy.
Yeah.
Some of the cards that were at like 50 cents a card, I was like, these are at best a quarter card, So I had to earn it a little bit more. And if you watch the show video, I kind of mentioned that a few times in the episode, like, okay, these are $1 a card. They're not quite a $1 a card for me. So I have to get enough of these and work out some kind of, so you can still buy, the whole reason I'm bringing this up on the educational side is you can still buy those cards, but you have to get enough quantity and you have to be able to work a discount.
Yeah.
Down to the price that you actually can pay for those cards and still get a sale value out of them. So I was able to do that with most of the dealers, and that did allow me to pick up quite a bit. I mean, I've probably bought like 500 cards.
Another one of my favorites I haven't really seen before this show, which he's not active anymore, but Kimbo Slice. If you remember the earlier days of UFC, Kimbo Slice was like a street fighter who they signed, and just finding that refractor there I couldn't pass it up.
Do you know what you paid for that one?
everything I paid for on the day averaged like 47 cents a day. So
Okay.
that was out of that same dealer that we started on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not bad if you had a bunch of top-loaded stuff because it was, like I
Yeah,
said, he was
exactly.
originally asking $2 a piece for those. So
Right. Right.
yeah, we talked him down pretty good. That was the other. So Charlie, you talked earlier about like I like to walk around and all that. One of the reasons I went to this dealer's table was because he had them priced at $2 a piece, and then you had to buy 50 to get them for $1. I was like, well, I know I can hit 50,
Yep.
I'm sure. And I felt like it's probably not that picked through because most people aren't going to be buying 50 cards and they're not going to want to pay $2 for the types
Yeah.
of cards he had. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I felt like that created an opportunity for me because I could get them down to the price I needed to pay, and I wasn't competed out because somebody else wasn't going to be buying them at the price, his top price.
Yeah. That makes
So that's
sense.
kind of my theory on digging that one. And then I went right to the 10-cent boxes and I found a bunch of stuff in there. So I'm like,
Right.
oh, this is a
Right.
no-brainer now. And I knew I could potentially get those thrown in and get them for free if I bought enough top loads. So free cards are the best, especially when you
Were you
cherry pick the free cards.
were you talking about Panini Black before?
Yeah,
Is that Chronicles Black or just Black?
just black.
Just Black? Okay.
Yeah, it's like $300 a box and you get like
Oh,
5
really?
cards.
Because I did pull a Chronicles Black that is a pretty sharp card as well.
Yeah, no, that's not the same thing.
That's not the same thing.
No, these are thick. Um, Trying to see if I got it still. And it's not part of the Chronicles program where it's like multiple sets. It's literally its own set. Um, Usually you get like 5 cards in a box. You get
Okay.
2 autos and a memorabilia. You know, it's a little bit higher end product. So even the base cards will do better because um, there just isn't that much of it printed and it's more expensive.
Right.
All right, let's see if we can catch up on the chat a little bit here. It's
All
gotten out
right.
of hand. Everyone can afford and appreciate $1 card, not the same for $1,000 card. Yes, 1,000% true. 100% about the unique and interesting, not the popular myself. Yep, I like the unique and interesting. I also like the popular because it doesn't hurt to get an easy sale once in a while too.
But couldn't they all just be an easy sale?
They cannot. They cannot, or everyone would do it. Or at least I find myself messing up more when I try to follow the popular, like you mentioned earlier. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the popular can change on a dime. Or if you're looking at active players, they can do stupid stuff like Wander Franco and John Morant, and the list goes on and on and on of players doing dumb things. So, um, especially if you're going to make a heavy investment, oof, you can drop in a hurry.
There's
We'll be
usually
there
no
as well.
shortage
Sad
of
that
dumb things
Madison
they
and
can do.
Appleton are the same weekend. I'm sorry, what?
So there's usually no shortage of dumb things they can do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the reasons I also like veteran, retired, Hall of Famery type players. Like their stuff is done. Even if they do something personally after that, doesn't impact their sports cards nearly as much as an active player who's literally not playing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Madison and Appleton are the same weekend. There's only so many weekends in a month. There's going to be shows that land at the same time. In a way, that's kind of nice because a lot of people in my area can't get down to the Madison show, and Madison people can't come up to the Appleton show. So it gives everybody a show to go to that weekend, which is also kind of cool.
I
The
did
Pats
find those
2000.
die cuts you mentioned before, like the Vic and the Tomlinson die cuts. They did end up standing out in those boxes pretty sharp, and a
Yeah, I
Brandon
would have
Cooks
bought those.
die cut as well.
I love die cuts.
That one's a
They're
rookie
underrated.
too.
Big time underrated. That's one of my favorite things about Select is all the die cuts. They look so
For
awesome.
sure.
And think about, okay, when the set just releases, people are like, oh, there's a die cut in every pack. They're not that uncommon. But think about 20 years from now when people are looking at those cards and you look at a Prism base card next to a Select die cut green and black refractor with, the cool patterns and stuff on it. Which one are you gonna buy?
Yep. Yeah.
So
There were hockey die
staying power.
cuts in there too. I don't know if you saw those.
I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I didn't get that far into that box. I only looked in that box for like 2 minutes, and then I realized there was another football box, and I was out of there.
And that hockey stuff came out of like the UFC and WWE. There
Yep,
was a
correct.
mix in there.
Yeah, I bought some out of there. I bought some Gretzky stuff, but that was it. Tom says if that Kimba is a 2010, it's his rookie year.
Oh, the Kimbo?
Yeah.
I'll have to check. 2010, huh?
That's what he says. He says he remembers staying home from a party to watch Kimbo Slice versus Ken Shamrock.
Yep.
And Ken Shamrock pulled out, so Seth Petroselli, a no-name, stepped in with pink-dyed hair, knocking out Kimbo in one punch first 20 seconds.
That was how it went because he didn't quite know how UFC fighting was yet.
Yeah.
This
That's
is funny. I gotta pull out it is a 2010. Yeah, 2010 Tops Ultimate Fighter Season 10.
You might want to look that one up then.
I guess so. I'll put this one
especially if it's a
aside.
refractor. Yeah. Thanks for the tip, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom says yes. Panini Black Gold cards are a Panini set I really like. Yeah, a lot of people really like them. They're pretty cool. Shadow box cards, acetate, thicker cards. They're pretty cool. Matte finish. Black is same, yes, but the black from Chronicles is printed on thin stock, whereas standalone is thicker, but some same design. The cards don't look the same either. It doesn't have the black matte. It doesn't have the acetate top and stuff like that.
Okay.
Khalil Mack rookie year is a nice year of the Panini Black Gold, but I think you're talking the regular black was still releasing early. Yes, or yearly. Yes. Yeah, Black Gold is. Well, there's gold standard, and then there's black, and then there's black gold. So it gets kind of confusing at times.
It sounds
I tend to look at the way I look at it is when I'm buying a base card of a player, unless it's like a huge name, a Brady card or whatever, I know exactly what I can do with that. But let's say it's an average player, Josh Jacobs. Okay, here's an example. Let's say it's Josh Jacobs. Now this isn't the particular card, but we'll go with this player. Now, if it's a Josh Jacobs base card and it's out of National Treasures, I would buy that card out of a 30-cent box because the cards, that brand of cards is so expensive. Even the base cards of commons go for $4 or $5 a piece, right? And Josh Jacobs has hobby, hence why I bought, some of his stuff. Or at least he used to have hobby. I know he had some issues in the offseason with contracts, but I know that player has hobby, so buying a premium brand like Black or something like that is probably a solid buy. So, but Panini is now dead to me, so we have to move on. We have to move into the future.
No more prisms, only refractors.
Which I think that's the biggest why I'm so positive about it is because I believe the products are going to be better. And I think that has value. They're not going to do redemption autos anymore, that scammy thing. I believe they'll have some more value priced products available for kids. I think there's some things that Fanatics can do that, Panini was never going to do. So I'm excited for that side of things. I like that they're going to somewhat degree regulate the breaking market because I think that's gotten out of hand. I don't know. Yes, there is a thing in the back of my brain that goes, so they license the product, they print the product, they package the product, they sell the product, and then you send it back to them to grade the product. And I'm going, that might be not enough hands in the pot,
Yeah.
To make sure things go as they're supposed to go. But we'll see what happens. I think I think my biggest thing where I'm okay with it is I don't think that the leagues are going to let them screw around with it, because they can, there's got to be so many clauses in that contract where they have outs that they could be like, Fanatics, you're not getting enough products out to the right people, or you're charging, I'm sure there's things in there where they're like, this doesn't work anymore, you're out. And we've seen
Right.
them pull that plug. They've just pulled it on Panini. The Players Association has to agree to these. I think that I still think Fanatics has some tightrope walking to do for basically forever, because they lose the licensing, they lose everything, and they don't control the licensing. They have to purchase that from someone else. So while they control the products and the distribution, they're only allowed to do any of that because the league and the Players Association says you guys can do this.
Right.
So they're policed in a way, if that makes sense. So, and did Panini do everything correctly while they were running basically a monopoly with it? No. So what's your alternative? Like,
Yeah.
keep Panini? Is that a better choice? No, I don't believe so. And yes, Topps is owned by Fanatics, and I get how that looks, as a parent company. But yeah. So this is how it is. Fanatics has big bucks. They could pay for all of it, and they did. They said we're going to buy the whole show, and we believe we can do the right things with it, and so that's going to be our move. So,
Yeah.
so that's where we're at, and I think in the long run it's going to be okay. And remember, unlicensed products can still be made. Some of those companies might still have certain licenses with certain players. One of my favorite products, the set release just came out, is Skybox Metal Universe. That product is awesome. And it has Griffey cards in it. It has Jordan cards in it. And it has Gretzky cards in it. And Tiger cards in it. And yes, they're pajama cards, as the industry term for non-uniform cards. I don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. If the card looks cool, picture on it looks cool. As a matter of fact, having another card of Ken Griffey Jr. standing at the plate in a Mariners uniform does not excite me. Him standing there juggling balloons, that's cool. I'll take that. That's one of the things I loved about 90s products. They paid these players to go and, John Elway, hold this bazooka, right? That'll be cool. Here, Brett Favre, put this cheese head on, put this Superman cape on, the Monsters of the Gridiron cards are some of my favorites. Those Halloween cards from Coke. They paid all those NFL players to wear these really stupid, gaudy, overdone horror Kiss. They basically look like Kiss costumes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they did that. You're never going to get players to do that stuff. So having some unlicensed stuff kind of rounds that out a little bit and gives you that taste of those cards. Plus, those sets can put out cards of things like karate fighters and social media personalities and trainers and cheerleaders and like all this stuff that you're not going to get in a Prism NFL product, and you shouldn't get it in those products. But I sold a ton of that Skybox Metal stuff. As a matter of fact, I just sold a couple not that long ago, a few minutes ago. Let's see, what did I sell? Oh yeah, Aiden O'Connell. Remember we were just talking about him? Sold an Aiden O'Connell, the starting quarterback now for. Where is this? I sold a Metal Universe Michaela Schifrin skier metallized insert, $2.99. Nice. I sold a Derek Trucks. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm trying to. Let me get this right here. I sold a Derek Trucks. He's a musician. Never heard of him before, but sold his card $1.89. And I put rookie because I'm like, I don't know who this dude is. He's a musician. He probably doesn't have any other cards. RC.
You're pretty loose with that, Adam.
You darn right I am. Here's another one. Here's another Skybox Metal Universe. Troy Mullins. She is an ladies PGA female golfer. Listed it as a rookie. I don't know of any other female golfer sets. Do you? So, and I sold that for $250. So the cards like that are just they're awesome. You don't have to have a license on everything. All right. Have you guys ever seen the superhero and the football player cards? Yeah. I think you're referring to the ones that they put. They kind of launched at the National. I haven't seen like any of the cards in hand. I don't know about any of the parallels, stuff like that, or inserts, but yeah, basically they took certain players and they turned them into like superhero designs and they gave them like a superhero name. And I believe those are player licensed, if I remember correctly from the show. But yeah, we'll see. Those might do really well too. I love comic style designed cards. The heroes cards, the My House cards, with the kind of the POW logo behind the player. Love that stuff. So I'm all in. Anything they want to cross over with comics is cool to me. I just picked up the Spider-Man Jerry Rice card. Well, there you go. See, so there's your.
I have not seen those.
Oh, he's referring to the metal ones. Yes, I have seen those. I had a I bought one at a Green Bay show a while ago. I'm trying to think of who it was. Might have been somebody dumb like Cordell Stewart or something like that. I had a Cordell Stewart like Wolverine one or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it was 96 or 97 metal, and they did a superhero on the card with the player. Yeah, they're super cool. And of course, they're expensive now because now everybody realized that they're awesome art. But yeah, those are, yeah, Sawyer just clarified. Yeah, not the ones from the National, but the metal. Yeah. Anything like that I would find in a value box, I would buy, for the right price, of course. He got it for $2. Yeah, I'd have paid $2 for a Spider-Man Jerry Rice card. That sounds amazing. Plus, it's Fleer metal, the greatest cards
Here we go again
in the history of sports cards, hands down. You can buy. Well, you're laughing at me, Charlie, but what was one of the cards you pulled out of that football box that you just had to show me that you found that you were going to buy?
Nuts and bolts, Fleer metal.
Barry Sanders, right?
Yeah.
No brainer. You can get $6 to $10 for that card. You buy that all day long at $1 or less. And you'll find a buyer almost instantly. There are people that just buy all the metal stuff because they're so amazing. Also has one of the greatest parallels of all time with the precious metal gem stuff. The inserts were really cool, the nuts and bolts, the close-up ones. There's like a bunch of really cool sets out of there. That shredded, where it has like kind of like the claw marks going through the middle of the card. Like, dude, that stuff's awesome. I buy metal commons sometimes out of like quarter and dime boxes. I don't care if it's a lineman for the 49ers in 97. I'll buy it. If it's 10 cents, I'll pick that up because it's metal. I actually bought a long time ago, meaning like 7 years ago, I bought a 1997 Fleer football set, like a complete set. They didn't sell sets. It was, hand collated. Somebody had put it together. But I bought it for $25. Can you believe that? It's got Barry and Brett and Jerry and
nice deal.
Montana, all those guys in it. And those sets sell for quite a bit now. But I bought it, and I don't buy sets, but I wanted a set of that because it was literally the greatest sports card set ever made. 97 Fleer metal. And that includes the football set, the baseball set, the basketball set. They were awesome. So that's my speech on that one. Do you agree, Charlie?
You're making a convincing argument, but it's a pretty tall claim. The greatest of all time. I mean,
okay.
When I think of greatest of all time, I only think of one thing.
GOAT, 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 GOAT. Um, I just think creativity and design wise, I've always looked at cards as a piece of art.
Yeah.
If you don't, then why don't you just buy NFTs or pictures of the players?
Hmm.
Download some sweet GIF of Barry Sanders making everybody look like idiots.
Yeah.
Just do that. That would be a much better way, and it'd be free essentially, unless it's NFTs. Um, but you're buying cardboard pieces of cardboard with pictures of men on it. There's got to be something else to it in order to maintain that value. You need the art. Um, Metal is just off the charts. Nothing has ever touched it. And when Skybox Metal Universe came back, I think last year was the first year. I couldn't get my hands on that stuff fast enough. It's like this is
I
so
do
cool.
like it. It's nice.
I mean,
I also,
unfortunately, it's pajama cards. I get it,
yeah.
but they're still the designs are just amazing. All the time, LMAO, and people think they are base. Yeah, exactly. Metal or Fleer EX. I do like Fleer EX. That was a good product as well. One of the things I didn't like about Fleer EX was you got like 3 cards in a pack for like $7 back in the day, which was sort of insane. When Metal came out, they were just like a normal priced pack of cards. I think they were even a little cheaper than like Topps Chrome. So I felt like value there was a little bit better. And each Fleer Metal card is completely original design. So the Jerry Rice card doesn't look anything like the Steve McNair card versus the Favre card, whatever. Whereas the Fleer EX, it was acetate. It had that little curve, that little like marble foil area, and then it had the EX here, and then the picture of the player on the acetate, and then the one like every card was pretty much the same. Very cool. Very, quality cards and design and everything. All plastic, I believe. One of the only plastic cards. Um, but yeah, metal is just, yeah. Anyway, if you've never looked at the complete 1997 metal set, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, go to it and tell me that it's not the coolest thing you've seen for sports cards. Fully licensed, you've got the teams, you've got the player logos, like everything is there besides, which I think does help when you're looking at it from like an art perspective versus the newer stuff where they don't have the license. Creativity, 100% metal. Yeah. Yeah. Art design wise, chef's kiss. So, all right. Anything else? Do you have anything you want to share, Charlie? You got
Oh.
picks or anything?
I shared some of the things from the Janesville show. That's probably it for me this week,
Yeah.
as we discussed ad nauseum so far. I'm not in a super heavy buying or listing mode right now with some other things
Right.
going on. So, it's been a little lighter for me to do any show and share stuff, but I'm sure you've got some things.
I actually don't.
Really?
Yeah, I've been slower with like buying online and stuff like that, but for a little different reason than you. I don't have that much. I did have a lot of outside things going on at one time. My July was kind of insane with the national, and then I was out of town for a weekend for what was the other thing I was doing? Oh, that Pink concert. I was out of
Oh
town
yeah.
for three
Hmm.
days for that. And then Luna was gone for a camping trip, and Bree had a work thing out in Vegas for a week, and blah blah blah. So that really got me behind on a lot of stuff. And of course, I picked up a ton of stuff at the national, so you just feel
Yeah.
behind when you buy that kind of quantity. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place. Like I don't have to go, oh, I need a big lot of this right now. I better go chase this down and order it. Um, the recent shows have been able to give me enough stuff to feel that I'm good there, and I don't really need to spend more. You have to be careful too, because you don't want to spend everything you make just on more product. You want to,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least I don't. I want to take some of those. I'm at the point now where I want to take some of those profits and then use them to better my personal life versus,
Yeah.
just constantly get more cardboard. I don't want to be completely asset heavy either. I want to carry some cash. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, I have stacks and stacks and stacks of, you know, show pickup stuff to list. I have stacks and stacks of Sports Illustrated for Kids stuff that I bought a big 800 card Sports Illustrated for Kids lot. I have that collection I just bought on Saturday, which is like 900 cards. Um, I've got some non-sports stuff. I have my team stickers, my Fleer team stickers. I bought a lot of like 1,000 of those a while ago and just started listing them.
Yeah.
Um, I of course have like 30,000 Favre cards that I want to get listed. So no shortage of inventory. So I'm just kind of riding that out.
I'll tell you one thing I can show you is I took one of your tips from last week's show,
Mm-hmm.
and I took a tin from like a Walmart mystery tin, and
Mm-hmm.
I've got my sleeves in there now on my
Yeah.
desk. It makes for a nice little keeper. They're not sliding all over my desk. They're easy to get at. So I appreciate that tip last week. I like that one.
Yeah, I use the I put it in my video too, my day in the life of a low end sports card loser. Um minus the
That might
loser
have been
part.
where I saw it
Minus the
actually.
loser part. Yeah. But yeah, I use the little soccer tins because I love
Yeah.
the match attack stuff. Um and yeah, these stay right on my desk. So these are my thick sleeves. Those even fit in there pretty well. And I just put the lid right underneath. Um so if when I go to a show, I literally just snap the lid on and these go in my bag and I bring those with me to the show
Yeah.
and I work out of that. Keeps the sleeves nice, keeps them from sliding around like you said, and um, yeah, I'm glad that was helpful to you. Something I kind of stumbled upon. I actually have like a stack of these tins. I probably have like 30 or 40 of them over here. I'm at no shortage of soccer tins,
Right.
and I had all these, and I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do with these? I kind of didn't want to chuck them. I like
Right.
some of the art and stuff, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, if they fit, if they're the right size to put cards in it, they've got to fit sleeves. So that's kind of how I came up with it. I hate the little plastic package that sleeves come in,
Yeah.
and every time you gotta unsticky that thing to pull one out, and you always pull out a couple at a time because it's hard to grab just one out of those. And I don't know, I hated it, so that's been a yeah kind of a godsend find
Yeah.
for me. MD, we'll do a couple more comments here, and then I think we'll wrap it up. Adam, what is your workflow once you have a stack of cards to list? So I list them. That's what I do. Basically, I try to sort them, and if you kind of have the appropriate question for the exact thing I was doing before the show started. So like I have this giant stack right here. Let me see if I can pull this out of here and show you. So I have this giant stack of cards right here. Can you see this? Right? All
Yep.
sleeve stuff from the show. And then I have this stack right here that I've kind of sorted out of that giant stack so far. What I do is I just try to, when it's all random, kind of random cards like that, I try to sort them a bit. So in this case, like I was sorting by player. So here's all my Daniel Jones cards that I picked up at the show. So I try to make some kind of sense of them. And I don't always necessarily sort them by player. Sometimes I'll sort them by set. Whatever gives me an easy sell similar, can copy most of the information and just change a couple fields and list. Because I do them one by one on my phone, and any steps that I can skip in that keeps me at my goal of 45 seconds to list. Some take a minute, some take 10 seconds, you know. Well, 10's maybe pushing it a little bit, but some are sub 30 seconds, you
Right.
know. Like the music cards. This is a band called Three Times Dope right here. And this was card number 80. Well, they are also on card number 81. So this is also three times dope. Oh, sideways. This is also three times dope. So I literally just had to go in and change the card number, and it's a couple seconds. So I try to pre-sort them to whatever is the most convenient to list. Then I almost to some degree then prioritize which players I want listed first. So I might grab all the Mahomes cards first and list those. Um, right now, I might grab anything Otani and list that first. Then I might grab anything Acuna and list that first. Those guys are in the middle of their seasons and they're hot, so I do that. Oop, we just
No, I'm locked up a little bit. Yeah.
weird. Yeah, we refreshed. That had to be a StreamYard effect. So yeah, anything that I can do to speed up that listing process, and then yeah, I just have my stack here, and I use the top of my laptop as my photo background because it's kind of a black matte. Works nice as a little background. Take the card out of the sleeve. I shoot the front, shoot the back. Sell similar to whatever listing I'm playing off of. To copy as much info as possible. Change a few fields. Hit the AI button. Um, and then list it. Make sure your quantity is correct, all that. But I never have to change my shipping. I never have, those things should all be standard. It's just those few things you have to change. So you should be, really 45 seconds or less if you've got the card right in front of you to get it done.
Yeah.
So if you look at 45 seconds or less, in an hour, I can list about 75 cards. So if you can sit down and list for 2-3 hours, it's not that hard to get a couple hundred cards up. Sorry wants to know if we have a scanner or do you take photos on your phones? I think we just answered that, but nope, don't use a scanner. I don't particularly care for how they turn out. I want to pay the money for one. I don't want to pay for a listing program. I like the convenience of the mobile. I can. Yesterday, Luna wanted her pool filled in the backyard. I'm not going to leave her out by the pool by herself. So I was sitting out there, brought some cards out there, and my laptop wasn't even plugged in. I was literally just using it as my photo base, throwing cards on it and taking pictures, and listing cards. Like Charlie said too, you can take the cards and just take a bunch of pictures of them and list them later. As long as you already have the photo, you basically can do anything else on your phone to list it at any other time. So
Right.
That's how I've done it. I don't believe in. I don't like growing too fast. I think that's where most companies, most entrepreneurs, most go-getters burn themselves out on it, is they grow too fast and they can't handle it. So I want to make sure that I'm scaling correctly. Okay, well now I'm going to have more sales because I listed more. Okay, well how does that change my day? Do I need to hire somebody eventually? I don't know. But I like the fact that it allows me to pace my growth a little bit rather than just scanning a bunch of stuff in and listing them that way. I don't really think it saves you that much time. The more I've listened to other people talk about using the scanners and the listing programs, is okay, you scan them all in. Well, now you have all these files on your computer for these photos, and so you have to do it on a PC. Excuse me. Then you use a listing program. Well, you have to go in and add all those photos to all the listings. You have to look through the listings, make sure they're accurate, and then you got to export that file to eBay. I think it's a CSV file if I remember correctly, and then which is it's like an online spreadsheet or form, right?
Right.
Something like that. So then that has to be uploaded to eBay. All those things are still taking time. I don't. Maybe if you're doing like a giant number, like 1,000 at once, maybe that speeds it up a bunch. But I don't know. I'm okay with a couple hours a day. I get 300 listings up. I mean, I'm at 30,800. So obviously, what I've been doing has been growing it over time, and with tons of sales. Like I don't sell anything, and it's just listing. I have tons of sales. So, yeah, that's how I do it, and I believe Charlie's pretty much the same. Correct, Chuck?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about it before. I will get a moment every day. I'll put a bunch of pictures on my phone, and then I'll list them whenever I can. I used to travel early on for a while. So when did I start? Late March. For the first couple of months, I would travel with like a black mat and some supplies and stuff like that to take my pictures and list at the same time. But I don't haul any of that stuff around anymore. All I haul now is my phone.
Yeah. And that's better because you don't want to damage the cards or lose them
Right.
somewhere or get them stolen. And
Yeah.
you don't, no good business should carry their inventory with them somewhere.
Yeah.
It should be locked up, kept safe, and then yeah, you just do what you need to do outside of the physical inventory.
And then inevitably I'd be up north outside or something trying to take pictures and lists, and a big gust of wind would come and
Yeah.
move things around. And
Or you get
so
no
yeah,
internet.
yeah, yeah. So now
Yeah,
it's, when I have a controlled environment, I take a bunch of pictures and then I can list them whenever and wherever, just like
yeah,
Shakira said.
yeah. And the quality of pictures phones take these days, the number of shiny refractor cards that just don't, in my opinion, scan well at all. Um, there's to me, there's just too many pros to using the phone, other than maybe a little time savings if you're scanning a bunch of stuff at one time. Let's see. Tom said he's excited for a bunch of auctions. He won Leaf Soccer Continuum numbered autos. Those sound awesome. Mostly rookies, but a few USA national team players. That sounds cool. Um, so you do the entire listing for one card and then move to the next. 99% of the time, yes, that's how I do it. I don't, for the most part, take a bunch of pictures ahead of time. The reason I don't is I don't feel as compelled to like do a ton of listings, like to keep going. Like I have a ton of stuff in my store and I keep getting sales without doing any listings. So I don't feel pressure to like, I got a list in order to get a sale, kind of thing. Um, and I probably have more chunks of time than Charlie does where I can just sit down and do like an hour or two of listing. So it's
Yeah.
not as necessary for me to shoot a bunch of photos and then try to do the listing later. I'm also kind of I know this about myself. Everybody has their plus sides and their downsides. One of my limitations is I'm a do a task, complete it, and then move on. I'm not a good one for organizing the things in my head where I go, oh, yeah, I took all these photos. Now I got to go do these listings. And for me, it's better I shoot the card, I list it, it goes in the drawer where it's supposed to be. Then it's done until I get a sale. Um, in my head, that works better. Generally, what I guess tell a lie. I don't list it and then go put that single card in the drawer. I make a stack of all my listed stuff. And then basically I'll list on my phone until my phone battery is about to die. That's kind of how I determine when I'm sort of done listing for the day. I'll then plug my phone in, I'll grab my stack of listed cards, then I will go get them correctly into their inventory spots. So for me, that's kind of a one slice piece where I get everything done, it's put away, my desk gets cleaned up a little bit, and then I'm ready to do whatever is my next task or bring my next stack out and do more listing.
Yeah. So I will do the take 20 pics of cards and I'll keep that stack on my desk so I know, okay, I've photoed each of these. And then when I'm done listing them throughout the day, I come back later in the day and I take that stack then. And once I've listed them, then I move them to my listings box.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful parts about it. There's no right or wrong. You just have to
Right.
figure out what your process. If you want to get a scanner and use a listing service, great, do that. Plenty of sellers find success doing it that way too. It's really up to you. But you asked the question, so that's why we're talking about it this way. But I'm confident that if you want to do the things with taking the photos on your phone and listing them that way, that's fine. You can completely run it entirely from the phone. It's a little harder when you try to do some of the expanded services of eBay, like your charts and graphs and things like that. That's much easier to do on a PC than your
Yeah.
phone. But as far as listing an auction item, I think it's way easier to do on the phone than it is on my PC. And I've done a lot of them on my PC, other than the end listings and sell similar that I do on my PC. But any brand new listings, to me, the app and the phone is a lot easier to use. So that's part of my motivation too. I'm like, I don't like using the PC for that stuff. I don't want to now get programs that forces me to have to do it all on the PC.
Sure.
So, and the part of it being mobile, for me is valuable. And obviously it is for Charlie too. Let's see. Do you have a shipping policy? Um, Not really, but I do. I'm a top rated seller plus, which means I do 1 day shipping because I like that eBay final value discount that I get on each sale. So I do that. So essentially, my only shipping policy is you buy it today, it gets shipped tomorrow. Do
Well,
you
are
have a
you
specific?
Well, yeah. Are you talking about the business policies you can preset then for your listings? I do that.
The business
Um,
policies, yeah.
yeah. So it preloads for me standard white envelope,
Yep.
14-day returns, one
Yep.
day handling, all of that preloads.
Correct.
Um,
That's what I do too. I do the top rated seller plus selling policy is what I
yeah.
use. Yep, correct. I just took a set up to work and left it there, so it's quick, easy, already set up. Just bring a box of cards, a selfie stick, take pics while I'm working at my cubicle through though the lighting sucks. It's exactly how I did it. I bring them to work. I bring a small box of stuff to work each day, and when I had time, I'd take them out. I'd just take pictures of them on the desk, list them.
See, and
The
that's how I
beauty of being
started.
mobile,
I
huh?
had a little rucksack that I brought every day to work. But what I found is, by the time I walk across the building to a break area, because I can't do it like at my desk,
Yep.
and got everything out, like I was limited to like 2 cards, and I was like, oh, now I got to go back. So that's when I moved to, hey, just preload them all on my phone, and then I can get to actually listing when I have those short periods of time available.
Yeah. Again, I that's one of the beauties of running this type of thing. You whatever works for you.
Yep.
Don't get fired from your job or anything, but um, outside of that, have at it. Tom also says, funny thing how things work. That's me. I'll take pics until my phone battery is about to die. So we share that in common. Then go start some drafts on my computer while my phone charges and just have to upload pics to the listing. It's a great way to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my phone battery length is based on take the photo, do the listing, take the photo, do the listing, take the photo, do the listing, and that's all done on my phone. And then when that battery is dead, then I go to my computer and I'm doing eBay maintenance. So I'm doing my end listings, my sell similar. I'll do send invoices out for stuff that hasn't been paid for. I'll go look at analytics. Um, I'll clean up some stuff. Sometimes I get a listing where I listed it twice and I can just update quantity on one listing and end another one. So that's kind of where that forces, that's not fun. I don't like doing that stuff. So photos, battery, listing, all that, when that battery dies, again, that forces my discipline to go in. Okay, well, about the only thing I can do now is go on my PC. I'll go in and do that work. So I think so. I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Business policies.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Only problem for me is that I resell other items like video games and other things too. Hard to use the business policies. So I have a suggestion for that. Um, and I would have two different stores. You can have multiple eBay accounts. Somebody tried to argue with me once that no, you're only allowed one. No, that's not true at all. And eBay allows it for this particular reason. Let's say you're a shoe seller and a purse seller. Well, maybe you don't want your purses on your shoe site.
Right.
So you can have two eBay accounts. I'd have one that does all the video game stuff, and I'd have one that does cards. Um, unless you're not that serious about it. If you have 10 video game listings and 20 cards listings, you probably don't want to have two stores for that. But if you're like seriously selling video games and seriously selling cards, I probably wouldn't mix those two things together because yeah, they don't really belong in the same store. So that would be my suggestion on that. But yeah, otherwise, if you're gonna put them all together, your shipping policy is gonna be wonky
Yeah.
on one of those two. Yeah, I pretty much have all unique listings. So with only player being common thing, so I can't do the nice quantity listing yet. Anyways, quantity listings are awesome for me. There are, if you watch my sales videos, in fact, the one I posted today, I had quite a few. I should say quite a few, but I had some where it was multiple buys of the same card. So quantity listings work well for me. Um, Today, I made a comment earlier, Charlie, about the guy who bought two different Favre base cards and he bought 10 copies of one and 12 of the other.
Yeah.
If I listed all those separately, would he have gone through and bought all 10 and all 12? I don't know.
Probably
Probably
not.
not. Probably not. So anything you have in quantity you want to sell, I would list them in quantity. Because if you list them all single, the only time I don't do that with anything I have quantity of is vintage because each card is so different. I want the buyer to buy the exact copy that they think they're getting. Otherwise, it's gonna be a customer service nightmare if you try to do that. And then if you have, let's say, this Daniel Jones optic contenders card. Let's say you have 10 of these, and one is maybe not as perfect. The rest are real near mint. You might want to take a picture of the one that's not the best quality and use that as your picture for your listing so that whatever copy they get, it's going to be better than the one that was the photo. My only argument to that is let's say this one has like a big ding down here. I don't want to list all my quantity as this card with a ding.
Right.
So this card I would list individually and I would just put on there not mint, ding in corner,
That's what
whatever.
I do. Yeah.
Price it a little less. The other 9 copies of this card, which are near mint, and pack fresh, those I would list as quantity of 9 in one listing. So I get that a lot with Sports Illustrated for kids because you got one person who tore it out real nice, and then you got another one where it's like a little chunk of the bottom
Yeah.
paper here is missing. Well, if I have 5 copies of this, I'll list these together. This one I'll list separately with the little bit of paper loss.
Yeah. So I have an example here. I've got a few copies of each George Brett cards. I've got one quantity listing that I list as excellent condition, and I've got one that I list as near mint because looking at those differences, I felt like these cards are a different class than these cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
Yeah,
create 2 listings, but both of them have quantity listings.
Yeah, as soon as you have a different condition, that's what determines the fact that you can't do a quantity. Unless you have a bunch in that same condition, which probably doesn't happen that often. So I'm not old enough to own my eBay store yet. I run it with my dad, but once I'm old enough, I sure will do. Yeah, awesome. Well, good for you. I'm glad you're starting young. That's going to help quite a bit. You'll have the energy to do it. You'll be able to make some money right away and grow it and hopefully take off from there. So I do believe in order to take this seriously, you do have to open a store at some point. I think to just try to list your 200 free listings a month is not going to cut it. If you have any kind of growth model, because it's just not that many listings. Wouldn't you agree, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, you were telling me that for quite a while. I did the free services up to about 1,000 listings, and then that's when I started seriously considering a store, and that's what I do now.
Yeah, it's the price of the store is not that expensive. It gives you a lot of discounts on your listing fees or extra free listings, and you get the value out of it pretty darn quick. And it doesn't stunt your growth because you're not holding back based on expenses. You have
Right.
all those listings you can use. Gives you basically carte blanche to go out and buy whatever you want and list it. Yeah, obviously, if you're too young to open a store, I get that. Not what you can do. You're gonna have to work with what's available to you right now, or what you work with your dad. And then yeah, when you can make those decisions on your own, sounds like you're pretty confident already that you're gonna do a store. So I'm excited for you, and love to have you back on and let us know how it's going. Let's see. MD does sports and games all under one account. I have business policy set up for everything, first class, standard envelope, etc. And that's a good point. You can set up separate business policies and then apply them to different things. So if you did that, yeah, I guess that would work too. To me, they're not like enough items, and I don't want my customers tripping around video games looking for trading cards or sports cards. So I would separate them into two stores. Plus, my brain, I don't think could handle that. I would have to have this is my video games, and these are. Um, but yeah, I mean, if it works for you and you're getting the sales and everything's hunky dory with your shipping and all that stuff, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Let's see what I got here. I'm just sending some offers out. I had a whole bunch of offers in my pool, so I figured I better get those done before I head to bed here. But anyway, I think that's it for tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Those who are watching this pre-recorded, thanks for tuning in. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy this video, if you want to see more of this type of content. Charlie and I are on here regularly, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday. We agree to continue to do that for the foreseeable future. So love to have you join us on more Wednesdays. And join in the chat, give us some topics, tell us we're wrong, whatever you feel compelled to participate in, we're happy to have anybody here. We have some fun. Stuart has opinions, maybe different than ours. His is pretty standard usually.
It is.
But
you really got to study the inflection in his voice.
Yeah. Don't have him send you an email because you just feel like he's yelling at you. It's really weird. Versus when you have a conversation with him, he's a totally different goat. I'm telling you. There he is. See, that was friendly. That's so friendly. But when you read it in an email, it's like capital letters.
Right.
All caps.
Well, he doesn't type very well because of the hooves.
Oh, well, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, you're gonna have to get him like a telestrator or somebody that does the typing for him, right? But yeah, thanks again, everybody, so much. We'll see you again next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Any parting thoughts?
Just keep going out there, keep working on some of those skills. We talked about buying lots, we talk about picking value boxes. Just like anything, those skills are just going to get better with more experience, doing it more often. I mean, I talked about sometimes I hit some things that don't quite work out, but that's how I learn from it, right? So just keep at it.
And you're not taking huge risk. We're talking small buy amounts, for the most part.
Right.
My final thought would be, if you haven't looked at doing anything unlicensed, now is probably the time, because you might be forced to do a little bit of that if you want any of this year's product for football. So this would be a good time to dip your toes in there, and then list and ship and list.
And then also some homework for next week. I'd love to have some chat about why Derek Jeter is not the greatest shortstop of all time.
So when we get to class next week and you say, Adam, where's your homework? I'm going to tell you that the goat ate it. Just so you know.
Goat ate it. And you might be right.
Listen to that inflection. He's pretty serious. He also likes Derek Jeter, by the way. So
I never heard that from him.
So here's something interesting about Derek Jeter right now. So I got this card graded by Arena Grading when I was at the National. I think I told you about it. The Jordan Alvarez back card. Mm-hmm. That's like a Jeter company, right? That's new into grading. He has his own account on there, and you can actually offer trades to Derek Jeter for his cards.
Yeah.
Like like not his own personal, like his collection, right?
Right.
So I found that incredibly interesting. So I'm gonna try to spend a couple minutes on there tomorrow and see if I can pose a trade to him for my. Maybe he's a Jordan Alvarez fan. I don't know.
Could be. Could be.
So yeah. So you can trade cards with Derek Jeter. I mean, how cool is that? The greatest Yankee of all time,
It's pretty cool.
as everyone agrees. So all right, on that, I'm out. Peace.
Peace out.